Hello, good evening. My name is Richard. This is Over and Over and Over Again. And tonight we are going to take you back on a nostalgia tour, actually, back to one of the great Summer World Cups from an England perspective, certainly. As you can see behind me there, Italia 90. We are going to look back at the tournament, obviously look at the England performance. There was a couple of other British teams, of course, at that tournament as well. Lots of other memories. We're going to look back as well at some of the things that were going on in the world in 1990 as well. So it'll be quite a good nostalgia trip for those of us old enough to remember what life was like in 1990, which seems a long time ago now. But you know, when I was looking back to research the show, it doesn't actually seem that long ago when you look at all the things that happened. But anyway, it was 32 years ago, and we're going to go back to Italia 90, a beautiful summer when a World Cup should be held, and look back at some great memories from one of the classic England World Cups. Coming up, the other side of this. Real Martinelli. It's now with Granit Xhaka. Is it going to be the third goal? It is the third goal. Granit Xhaka with it. That seals it. So this is Italia 90 World Cup memories, and coming back for a second time is, of course, Lee. How are you, my friend?
I'm great, Rich. I'm great. Good to be back.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, you've been away. You know, I know, like you said, we're not going to feel sorry for you. He's been away to Barbados, as Lee, and he's just got back. So he missed a couple of shows. He's back now in the cold, so he's suffering a little bit. But there you go.
Yeah, not going to get much sympathy, as I said, but there we go.
No, it's good. It's good to see you again. Anyway, I'm glad you had a good holiday and back with us in the nice normal weather for December. Not none of this 25-degree like normal proper weather.
No.
Anyway, so we're going to go back to 1990, which, as we know, was almost very successful World Cup for England. Plus, lots of other things happened in 1990. What we'll quickly do then, we'll look at some of the events that happened in the world in 1990. Do you remember what this refers to?
I can't.
It was
satellite of some sort.
Yeah, it was the Hubble Space Telegraph. That went up in 1990, the first time that had gone up. That was one of the things in the news. Of course, this was also confirmed as well in 1990.
The fall of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah, well, the unification of Germany. Yeah, that actually happened after the World Cup. So this World Cup was the last World Cup when they were known as West Germany, because the official thing wasn't until the October of 1990. So, but that happened in 1990. And of course, as well, we all remember this as well, don't we?
We do. November 1990.
Yeah. Obviously, Maggie Thatcher quitting as Prime Minister after the longest, I think she was the longest reigning Prime Minister of the modern times, wasn't she, at that particular time when she resigned? So, that was the end of the Thatcher era in 1990. We moved into a new decade, of course. In terms of movies, I'm sure we all remember this movie, the number one movie of the year.
Ghost, yeah.
Yeah, what a great movie that was. And another very successful movie of the year as well. Another great movie, which is still now, of course, Pretty Woman with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts, of course. And this movie was out as well in 1990. Do you know what that one is?
Let me think. Is it? No, I'm not sure.
Total Recall.
Unfortunately, I never had Total Recall.
No, not with that particular film, obviously, but
no.
that was one of the other movies. There was a few other big movies out there. Goodfellas came out in 1990 as well, actually.
That's right, it did. Yeah.
And of course, Home Alone as well, the original Home Alone, which
love it.
At Christmas time of year, that's a good film to think back on. There was some good music and some not so good music. This was one of the big hits of the year by Snap, The Power, of course, great song. That was. And this one as well. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, Sinead O'Connor, Nothing Compares to You.
Nothing Compares to You. Yeah, that was one of the big number ones. And of course, the best-selling single of the year actually was related to the movie Ghost. It was, of course, the re-release of Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers in 1990.
That's right.
from the movie. So that was one of there were sort of three of the big hits. Now on TV, this particular series started, which was quite funny at the time. Mr. Bean, of course. Great stuff that was. Also, as well, this started in 1990, which I was a bit surprised about. You've been framed. I thought it was from the 80s, but obviously not.
I did. I did. I suppose. Yeah. He was on Game for a Laugh, Richard, wasn't he? I think
and
before
also, what was that other one? That one from the 80s was the one before You've Been Framed. What was it that he did? There was another show, wasn't there, that he hosted before? Very similar, wasn't it? I can't remember what that one was now. Anyway, that was obviously You've Been Framed. Jeremy Beadle, who was sort of big in the 80s and 90s on TV. But it was actually 1990 You've Been Framed first came on telly, which I thought it was earlier.
I was surprised. I would have said about 85, 86.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought. But but it actually wasn't. So that was that one. Obviously, you got £200, whatever it was, to send in your videos of people falling down the stairs and stuff like that, which was quite good, wasn't it? We all remember that. And of course, this was quite famous in 1990 as well.
Very much.
Can you say really? Just fantastic. So they were some of the TV shows that were out in 1990.
Beatles About, that was it, Richard. When it interrupted, Beatles About when he basically stitched people up.
Yeah, that was the 80s, wasn't it? I think that was that was before, and then it went on to You've Been Framed with the video clips that people sent. So,
that's the one we were thinking of when he was really getting people to get really angry.
that was quite good actually. That was quite a good series. One of the first of that kind of TV, sort of reality TV, really, wasn't it? In a way, kind of the start of it. Maybe it was. So
it was.
That's where it all came from, really. You've Been Framed, perhaps. So well done, Jeremy Beadle, for all of that. He was, of course, an Arsenal fan as well, wasn't he, Jeremy Beadle?
He was. Big Arsenal fan. Yeah, I remember
seeing him at the ground quite a lot of Highbury, quite often.
I've seen him over there.
Yeah, and the best-selling car of 1990, no surprise really, it was the Ford Fiesta.
Ford Fiesta,
which has just been taken out of production, actually, hasn't it? They just announced it.
That's
recently.
Right. Yeah, recently.
All those years of Ford Fiestas that we all had, I'm sure we've all had one at some point or other. In 1990, it was the best-selling car in the UK. Now, in terms of sport, obviously these won the league as they tended to do quite a lot at that time. Liverpool. Now, at that particular time, we wouldn't have known it. They wasn't going to win the league again for another 30 years. That was
unbelievable.
The previous 8 or something like that. One.
Richard, I'd like to have known the odds a bookie would have given if he would have said then to all of us at that time in our 20s, right? Okay, what odds would you give on Liverpool not winning the league to 2020? Yeah. I reckon it would have been about 5,000 to 1, 10,000 to 1. It would have been impossible, right?
Yeah, it would have been. I mean, obviously, Kenny Dalglish was still the manager there. Of course, it was the following year that he left, and then it all started to go downhill for them very quickly, didn't it? In terms of the league. So, you'd never have thought that in 1990 when they won the title.
No chance.
They won it quite easily that season as well. Incredible that they never won it for the 30 years after that. We'd never have thought that. Now, there was another significant event in football that year as well, which was this, which might not seem that significant when you look at the picture. Obviously, Manchester United winning the FA Cup, but it was Alex Ferguson's first trophy.
First of many.
Yeah, it was the first of many, but that was the one that kick-started it all. And he nearly got sacked, didn't he, that season before
Mark Robbins.
An earlier round, Mark Robbins, right? Yeah, and they went on to win the FA Cup. So cheers, Mark Robbins, for that.
Cheers for that, Mark. Yeah,
well done, mate.
Lovely ball actually by Mark Hughes. Do you remember outside of his right boot into the box? I always remember it was an unbelievable ball.
Yeah,
old Sparky out on the left-hand side, and
it was Lee Martin who scored the winning goal, wasn't it?
That's right. In the final, in the final, I was talking about the Robbins goal, because they were. I think there was minutes to go, and he just done that outside of the right boot, and he finished it off, and the rest, as they say, is history. Unbelievable.
Yeah, Jeff. It was. Yeah, I think how close they were to sacking him. And then, anyway, Ian Wright nearly did us a favour, didn't he? That final, scoring twice in the first game when it finished 3-3, didn't it? The first FA Cup final. And then,
that's right. That was some final that was on the Saturday, wasn't it? He come on. He was out. Looking up how old he was. Only 25, and he was out with a broken leg, wasn't he, for about 5-6 weeks, and I don't think he was too happy. He was on the bench, but to come on, he was electric when he kind of instant impact. And then he got, I think he scored. I remember him scoring in the replay as well. Oh no, it's the first game. He got
No.
2 in the first game.
Yeah,
John
got 2 in
Salako
the first
crossed, mate.
game. Yeah, the replay they lost 1-0, didn't they?
Yeah.
Martin scored the goal in the replay, and
Yeah.
as I say, history after that, really, wasn't it, for Manchester
Yeah.
United and Alex Ferguson? But yeah, that was what started it all. So it seems strange
Yeah.
to think now, going back to that season. Now, obviously, we look at I know Man United aren't successful now, but all those years that we had to suffer, Man United winning everything, league titles, European Cups, all this, that, and the other. And back in 1990, they didn't win very much at all. They hadn't won much for years, had they? So it was strange how that kind of worked out. And obviously, Liverpool ended up winning nothing, and Man United won it all. So they kind of swapped roles, really, didn't they?
Well, they complete. I mean, what's his name? The old Gary Neville often talks about the pain of being a Manchester United supporter in the 70s. Much like us, we had a few finals, didn't we? But they didn't have much to shout about. I think the 77 final. They beat Liverpool, didn't they? And not much else. But as you say, they completely reversed roles. Weird, really, to have that much success from Liverpool from I don't know what it was. Probably like the mid 70s when it 74 onwards. They were totally dominant right up to, as I say, to 1990. But apart from obviously Forest and the Villa for a couple of seasons, incredible.
Yeah, it was, and I say they went from winning everything to winning nothing, and Man United went from winning nothing to winning everything. In that 90s period is when it all kind of changed. But of course, Arsenal were in there all the time, battling away as well, weren't we? During
we was 91. We won. Followed it up, didn't we? Followed 89 up.
Yeah, that's
2 years later.
We were just by 1990. We were just starting to become a force again, wasn't we? Really, by that point, under Graham, and we'd had a few difficult years in the 1980s, but we finished the 80s on a high, and we moved into the 90s. The 90s was a good decade for Arsenal, of course. Elsewhere in sport, though, it wasn't just about football. At Wimbledon, this guy won the men's singles. Do you remember him?
Yeah, Stefan Edberg.
And in the women, of course, as she always tended to win in them days, Martina Navratilova, of course. And that was sort of elsewhere in sport, really. But obviously, we do like a bit of Wimbledon. Now, of course, the 1990 World Cup rolled around in the summer, and there were 3 British teams, as there had been in the previous 2 World Cups. Of course, it was England. This England squad were there representing us, which we hadn't had the best form going into the World Cup, as we tended not to do. So I don't think we were particularly optimistic about going that far. Of course, Scotland, as usual, were in it as well. That was a Scotland squad from the 1990 World Cup. And also, for the first time, we had this lot in there, the Republic of Ireland, who were basically England B. Let's be honest, they wasn't Republic of Ireland.
No, if you drunk a pint of Guinness, you qualified famously. Tony Cascarino would say, I think he's from South London.
He did, exactly. Jack Charlton done a fantastic job with the Republic of Ireland, to be fair. They qualified for a lot of tournaments. They did well when they got there. But this was their first World Cup, 1990, for the Republic of Ireland. They, of course, got to the Euros in 88, didn't they? And beat England, of course. So that was them. Now, of course, the 1990 World Cup, apart from being famous for that brilliant England song, The World in Motion, and John Barnes's rap and New Order and all that kind of stuff, was also, the summer was famous for this dude as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, Pavarotti,
and of course Nessun Dorma, which became the anthem of the summer, really, didn't it? That summer when the World Cup, which was great.
It did.
And of course, apart from all that stuff, there was actually some football went ahead as well, and the World Cup did take place in Italy. Now, I personally, I don't know what you think, Lee, but I personally feel that this World Cup has been very, very overrated because England did so well in it, and because of the Gaza situation, and because of the great song there was. And I think the World Cup as a whole, as a World Cup, wasn't actually a particularly good World Cup. I thought it was very cynical. There was lots of fouls, there was lots of time wasting, there was loads of boring games, penalty shootouts, and it wasn't the greatest World Cup. But now looking back, we all kind of look back to 1990 and think what a great summer that was, only because England did so well. Do you agree with that, or do you think maybe the World Cup was better than that, really?
No, I kind of do agree. I mean, there were standout games like dotted amongst the tournament in the group games. Obviously, the very first game on that rainy Friday, was looking forward to it. It was pouring down with rain, and Argentina played Cameroon. And that was obviously a big upset. Cameroon won, but I just remember it from the Cameroon players. I think 2 got sent off towards the end, with like karate kicks on Claudio Canija. Funny story, Richard. I was sitting in a restaurant in Marbella with my brother and cousin about 10 years ago. I was sitting there eating my meal, and there was a guy, 3 guys about 4 tables away, and one of them stood up, and I just dropped my knife and fork and went, "You're Claudio Caniggia." And he came over and he said, "See," and he came over. We had the picture. It was pretty unbelievable. That was a memorable game, wasn't it? When Brazil played Argentina, I'm hopping to the round of 16. I think they knocked Brazil out of the World Cup, didn't they, with that Claudio Caniggia winner? But yeah, I think you're right. There's a few memorable games. You know, the Holland Germany, the Rudi Voller. Getting spat in the air by Frank, spitting in the hair by Frank Rijkaard, obviously. The England one stand out, but yeah, a lot of time wasting. It was pretty cynical. I'm trying to think who were one of the dirtier teams in that. Trying to think, there was one team who were particularly dirty.
Cameroon were pretty dirty.
Cameroon. They were, yeah.
I mean, that first game, as you mentioned, I think everybody remembers that second yellow card. I mean, that was one of the greatest fouls ever in the World Cup, wasn't it? And
took him
out.
Just
basically wiped him out, didn't it? At waist height. It was ridiculous. So that was, and then of course they won, didn't they? As well, they got that header. I think it was Keke, wasn't it, or someone who scored the goal? Or
Oman Biek.
Oman Biek. No, it was Oman Biek, wasn't it? Yeah.
With the header, and it squirmed underneath the goalkeeper. It was really strange the way he headed it, and the ball kind of just slid, and it just slid under the goalkeeper. And rolled over the line. It was mad.
It was a strange game. Yeah, and that was one at the time. That was probably the biggest shock in World Cup history. Argentina, the holders against Cameroon, who had never really done a lot in a World Cup before. I think they'd qualified in '82, drawn all their games or something, and got knocked out. And to beat Argentina, that was an incredible result, actually. And the manner that they did it with 9 players as well, was just mad.
It was unbelievable. It was mad that the last 10 minutes when you kind of pleading with them to hang on, and then I think they had a player sent off after about, I don't know, maybe it was 70 minutes, and then about 6 minutes to go, they had a second player. You're thinking they're not going to hold on, because obviously Argentina were the holders, right, from '86. Fully decent team. Maradona was still in it, not his complete best, but they squeaked the win. So it was it was a good start, but and they got quite far. I'm sure we'll come on to that quarter final, won't we, further along? But that was that was some game.
Yeah, it was. And I think you're right. The World Cup had some really, really memorable games dotted around in it. But for me, I remember obviously having seen the previous sort of 3 World Cups prior to that, which I thought were what I considered to be a festival of football. And 1990 rolled around, and it was when we first started to see a lot of the kind of cynical side of football for me that came out of the World Cup. I hadn't really seen it before. You know, I think it maybe because it was in Italy, the Italian game was a bit like that anyway. And I think we started to see that creeping into football more and more from that start of that. For me, that was the first time I'd really seen that on such a big scale in that World Cup. Really, like that, wasn't they?
Shirt pulling, diving,
rolling around, pretending to be injured. And you know, just I don't know, all that sort of stuff, which now we take for granted in a way because it happens all the time. Back in 1990, for me, I've never really seen it. No, it was.
Well, there was outrage, wasn't there? I remember I'm sitting there with my dad, and it was just cursing at the television for the obvious cheating. That, as you say, we're used to seeing a player now tapped on the ankle, like a 14-stone player like De Bruyne in the last minute the other week. A month ago now, when he kind of goes down like a sack of spuds. You never used to see that ever.
No, not in the English game.
Honestly, not in the English game. No, but as you say, you had Klinsmann doing his famous diving all over the place and rolling around. And as I say, a lot of cynicism, shirt pulling, and all the rest of it, sort of sneaky fouls. But I mean, I suppose the biggest thing about that World Cup, it was kind of it was a defining and dividing moment, wasn't it? Between, it's almost like old and new, Richard. It was just before Sky, and it was. I mean, the documentary that was on recently, which talked about all the trouble, hooliganism in the '80s, when football really was. It wasn't. A few notes I've written down here. I'd say it was for the more the hardcore football fans. You used to go the days before it was called footy, right? No one ever called it footy before 1990. It became footy when it becomes probably a bit more middle class. I think it's fair to say after Italia 90, because we did so well, suddenly other people are interested. Whereas we used to go and get locked in for half an hour, 40 minutes at Stamford Bridge, crushed, literally shut, begging to be let out, open the gates. And I'm thinking, is this normal, being locked in, to become a very different game? It absolutely was. Yeah.
I mean, I've always kind of, now looking back, at the time you don't really realise it, but now looking back, I think that there was sort of 3 events over a year and a bit period of time that changed football and brought football into the modern era, that for good or bad. That was obviously Hillsborough in '89, and that changed obviously the stadiums and the way football. Well, not really changed the way football fans were treated so much, but certainly changed the stadiums and that side of it. You then had the Arsenal match at Liverpool in '89, where TV kind of realised that football could provide that drama and almost cinematic kind of drama in football, which maybe we hadn't really seen before generally. And that game kind of brought it in, and then of course the 1990 World Cup with England doing so well, and those 3 events kind of quite close together in time. I think that shaped modern football, and without those 3 events happening in the way that they did, I think football now would be very different to what we see. And I think it's a result of those 3 events, and obviously the 1990 World Cup being the kind of the peak of that. And then I think from all that, because of how much the TV and people at home and everybody kind of got into football because of watching England do so well in that World Cup and all that kind of stuff, the iconic moments from England mainly. And I just think that was what really ushered in, as you said, modern football. And the audience changed, the grounds were changing on the back of Hillsborough. And I think the whole football philosophy, the people that, the hooligans maybe decided that perhaps, after all those people died, that maybe it wasn't such a clever idea anymore. And no. It all changed, didn't it? And you noticed it in the stadiums as well. I mean, I know the season straight after the World Cup, obviously Arsenal had a really good season. We only lost 1 game, 1 lose, but you noticed the change in the stadiums at that point, really, as well. You could notice it changing, and then obviously Sky got involved a couple of years later, and we know what effect that had. But to me, this was one of the major turning points in modern football, the 1990 World Cup, without a doubt, and it's changed everything.
I agree. I mean, it did. Those 3 events you described, there wasn't many live football games on, were there? That night at Anfield, they must have sat back and gone, wow, if we can recreate that again, it'd be something special. And obviously, as you say, the following year we had the World Cup. So at some point between June 1990 and the summer of '92, someone would have sat down and scratched their head, someone like Rupert Murdoch, and thought, hang on a minute, we can make some money here. And then obviously that really blew it up to the game. That really was just the catalyst that took us to where we are today. The coverage. I mean, we used to have Brian Moore on a Sunday, didn't we? And Jimmy Hill on a Saturday night, and Harry Carpenter on a Wednesday, right, Richard? And suddenly we've got Richard Keys, who's not our favourite person, us Gooners, sitting there in his pink jacket on a Sunday afternoon with Andy Gray, and this talking about this whole new game. And I mean, you have to give it to Sky. I mean, particularly a fan of Richard, well, definitely not a fan of Richard Keys, but I was of Mr. Jeff Stelling and the whole Soccer Saturday, which it led to, which was massive. And Sky really did kind of change football in the late 90s and got more people into it, and probably more people, a different audience going along and getting season tickets. It kind of led to the old Roy Keane's prawn sandwich brigade, didn't it? Another note that I've written down here, which is, you wouldn't have got in our day in the 80s. Probably would have been Dennis Hill Wood sitting in the Arsenal boardroom having a prawn sandwich, but no one else would have been having a prawn sandwich on the clock in, would they?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And you're right. And obviously the whole Sky thing, that escalated the change quicker, didn't it? When Sky got involved, but the change had already started. I'd say those 3 events, and I say the 1990 World Cup was pivotal in it, and I think that's why maybe now it holds significance in modern football more than more than anything, more than any other World Cup does, I think, because of what changed on the back of it. And I don't think it was just the World Cup. I say, obviously Hillsborough had a big, massive impact on football.
Yeah, it did.
In terms of things changing and stuff like that. And I say our game at Anfield, which remains now all these years later the most famous game of football ever played in the world. Probably.
Yeah,
well, I would say probably so.
Yeah, and not that we're biased. Not that we're biased.
No, but I do think it is. I mean, obviously, I don't follow all the leagues in the world. I'm sure that the top two teams have probably played each other in the last game in other countries at some stage or other. I
doubt it. Yeah.
But to win it like that we did, in the last kick of the game, actually, we had to win 2-0 away. That's not happened before. I mean, they made a movie about it, a book about it, everything. It's the most famous one-off game ever played.
It is, and to finish on the same number of points and the same goal difference. I mean, you literally could not make it up against the team. I try and tell, obviously, City mates of mine who not that there's that many people who go on about the Aguero. I'm like, we all shake our head and go, well, actually, they beat QPR. It's like to try and recreate that the Anfield moment today. It would be like I don't know, it'd be like Leicester having to go to Manchester City on the last game of the season to win by 2 clear, and I'm being honest, I was offered tickets and I thought, I'm not going up there to see them win the league. I can't go through that pain, having gone through the prior 9 months where it was looking so good and it kind of started to die a death, didn't it? Wimbledon, Derby. And then I'm thinking, I can't face it. I'd rather play five-a-side on a Friday night. I'm not going all the way to Anfield, skinning myself with the travel and the ticket to sit and watch them win the league. Because how could we beat them 2-0? So, it was a massive, monumental moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And, and because of the TV, pretty much everybody that maybe even normally wouldn't watch football on TV watched that game, didn't they?
Yeah. And, Friday night.
Yeah, it's almost like anybody that you speak to now that was around in '89 watched that game, whether they like football or not. They would have watched that game. Everybody did, and that's what made TV companies realise that football can offer that. And the fact that, like we said, the 1990 World Cup happened the following year. And obviously I don't know what the viewing figures were for the England game, but you imagine it would have been massive because in them days there was only like the 4 channels. It's not like now, and there's 150 million. There was only 4 channels.
I'm pretty sure the Germany game was something like 30 million. Something ridiculous on BBC, like 30 million. Before I come up here, I was listening to a guy on ITV, and he said the England game last night against Senegal. I think he said it was 18. And I'm like, well, it was 30 million. Obviously less channels, but incredible amount of people. So, but as you say, it definitely changed within the stadium because we'd had 10 years of hooliganism before, proper bad kind of trouble from even with England abroad. European Championships in Italy. You remember in 1980? They were going out on the terraces before the game, and then obviously across Europe. But obviously the all-seater moment changed it. Plus, maybe it was a moment in time, Richard, I was thinking about. Maybe it's something to do with the rave culture. And you had all these hooligans thought, actually, there's better things we could be doing rather than getting into fights on a Saturday afternoon and go raving. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know.
I mean, I think there was definitely a culture change in the country at that time as well. And I think it was all kind of connected. Young people started to sort of change the way that they wanted to live their lives a little bit, and also as well because of football suddenly became trendy, and it hadn't been before. In the 80s in particular, it was you knew the type of people that went to football. It was very working class male, wasn't it?
Hardcore,
generally younger kind of people. And that was what it was. And then after the 1990 World Cup, it became a lot more family orientated, more a different type of person started going to football, and it reached a different audience. And that and I think people felt a little bit safer because the stadiums changed, all seating, all that kind of stuff. It did change the whole nature of football, really. And I don't think people now that maybe obviously younger people won't understand the importance, or not so much importance, but the significance, of the 1990 World Cup and what had happened in the previous year or so before that, and how much that impacted what happened. Because in a way, we were lucky that we experienced football before Hillsborough, if you like, and we've experienced football after Hillsborough. And I'm kind of quite grateful that I was able to do that, because I don't think I would have felt the same way about football now if I hadn't been going in the 80s and experienced all of that. And I think that, the modern fans, they'll have a completely different perspective on football that what we do, because they won't have experienced what we did in the 80s. You know what I mean? How different it was, and what a different experience it was.
I think it would totally shock them. Not just as I mentioned earlier, being locked in away grounds in London for an hour, and then getting chased to the tube station. I don't know whether that happens now. It probably does every now and again, but it's probably a one-off. It was guaranteed then. It was guaranteed. Right, okay, I'm going to Chelsea. I'm going to take my life in my hands. Hopefully it won't be too bad. Hopefully I don't get caught on my own, and hopefully we can get back to Gloucester Road, back on the tube, and then back to North London. It was like literally running the gauntlet, wasn't it? And so
it was.
Never mind, the state of the stadiums. Even our stadium, standing over Highbury, used to get there at 12 o'clock on a Saturday. Back in the green kit era, sitting there waiting for the game to start, and the stadium was falling to pieces, wasn't it? Absolutely shocking compared to what it is now.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we all loved Highbury and that, and it was fantastic, but it had the history and it had everything else. But by the 80s, it was definitely had seen better days.
Decaying,
yeah, it was. And like most of the stadiums were. I mean, Highbury was still one of the better grounds in them days. Even though
it was.
It to be improved. Some of the other grounds were a million times worse. They were just falling to pieces.
Oh, they were. We had the pitch. We always had the perfect pitch, didn't we? Perfect pitch and the corrugated iron at the back of the clock end.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's stick the corrugated. That's going to look wonderful. A bit of corrugated iron. You can quite often see pictures of old games now and see the corrugated iron at the top. Thinking, blimey.
Yeah. They were good days, but at the time Highbury had obviously seen a lot better days. Had the team had in the 80s to be fair, and I say it did. Modern football fans won't understand any of this. They'll be listening and thinking, what on earth are you talking about? Because they won't have experienced what that was like. And I say I'm grateful. Yes, it wasn't always a lot of fun, but I'm grateful that I got to experience that before it changed. And I'm really I feel really lucky that I experienced that.
I think you make a good point. It's literally it's like yin and yang, isn't it? Completely. The only thing that's kind of similar is that they chase a round ball, but apart from that, you think about everything else from the to the mix of supporters, the stadiums, even the pitches. I think there was an old big match we visited on yesterday, and I said to my missus, "Look at that." She said, "What's that?" I said, "That's a football pitch, right?" It was. I think it was a game from 1975. It was a mud bath. It was a mud bath with the ball sticking, and not moving, not even rolling. It was. We watch it, and even obviously we were used to it, but even now I'm like, blimey, was it really that bad in it? And it kind of was, but your modern football fans going to see that and think, you must be joking. How can you play football in that? It was people like George Best managed to get around a football pitch, and Diego Maradona, to a certain extent, getting lumps kicked out of him was just incredible, wasn't it? So
it is almost a different game now. It isn't, but the rules are different now. Most of the rules are different. The offside rules different. Obviously, we've got VAR, back pass rule. All these kind of things that have changed in football, and they'll look on it. The people that run football will probably look on it as improvements, but I don't.
Yeah,
a lot of it hasn't improved.
No.
Oh, has it?
No, it was raw, Richard, wasn't it? It was completely raw, and I suppose they're now looking for perfection that they're never going to find. No. At least I suppose we went and we said, the linesman got that wrong or the ref got it wrong, and you kind of just rolled with it, didn't you? You didn't stop moaning about it. But now it is. I know we're digressing into VAR, the dreaded VAR, but it's it's certainly not improved. I don't think. I think they're never going to get perfection, are they? You got to accept. There's going to be it's going to be arbitrary. It's going to be a human's decision.
And to me, that's kind of. Sport as itself is competition between people, whether it's a team or an individual, and that's what it's about, and that should be what decides it ultimately, not using technology is a good thing, it's improved a lot of aspects of life, but sometimes too much technology isn't going to help in these sort of situations, and that's what's happened with sport. in general, but football
Yeah.
in particular, certainly in recent years. But I mean, I watched that film that you mentioned about the World Cup in 1990, Italia 90. I think it was called, I can't remember what it was called now, but it was really good. I watched that about a week or so.
I did. Yeah.
And it was really good, but it actually made me a little bit sad as well to think how much more enjoyable in a way. Yeah, and it was more raw, and it wasn't as polished, and it wasn't the
Nowhere
product
near.
that you see now, and it is almost a product
No.
now, isn't it? And it wasn't like that. And a lot of people now would look at football from the 80s and the 90s, and probably certainly early 90s, and think, you know, what they wouldn't even want to watch it. Probably they wouldn't enjoy it. And I actually would rather watch. Now I watch a lot of those, like you said, the big match revisit and all that. I watch all of them, and I enjoy them more than I do watching modern.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a World Cup game on, Brazil are playing, and I don't really care.
Yeah.
I would rather I'd rather watch the 1990 World Cup again. And the 1990 World Cup wasn't even a fantastic World Cup of football, really.
It was kind of pure then, wasn't it? It was pure football.
It was the last one to me. It was the last World Cup that was like that, really, wasn't it? It was the first
they
World
mentioned
Cup
that
we saw the cynicism, and it was the last World Cup when we had the rawness and the reality.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, they even mentioned that in the show, didn't they? I think the narrator says this. He called it last. I think in the first minute of the introduction, he said he called it the last of the old World Cups, which I kind of found interesting, right? Because obviously we had our 82. My favourite was probably 82 that I missed with you, but 86 and 90, and then post that we had America, right, which was again not for me, not a great World Cup, not a great venue at the time. But it was those World Cups where you could actually get on a ferry go across the English Channel, take a tent, and pitch up on a campsite. And the weather was great, and it was summer, and it was easy to get to. And it was kind of football loving countries, you know, Spain and Italy. So we were lucky, and even the Mexico one was different. It was a long way away in a different time zone, but there was still something raw about that World Cup as well. In Mexico with the South Americans and Argentinians, it still had it. And then we kind of obviously the game changed, and we end up in France '98, and it's never been quite the same as that last Italia '90 World Cup, where it was, you know, you had fans. I see it on the documentary, schlepping off the ferries to Sardinia. Getting with the Italian police waiting for them, like expecting trouble. So completely different now.
It was the last. It was the last of that era of World Cups, wasn't it? It was the last one, definitely, and it ushered in a new era, definitely. For good in some ways, yes, but not in many ways for me. I don't know. I would go back to 1990 again, and rather than moving forward with what we're getting now. I
mean, you kind of, when you think of the budget, you'd need to get a Sea Link ferry and a tent from, I don't know where Argos then, a tent from Littlewoods, under your arm, and people were pitching up, and they probably had a few £100. You know, it's a bit different to the 20 grand you're probably going to need to go to Qatar for a couple of weeks, for 2 or 3 weeks. It was rough and ready, and as I say, completely different. The reception you were getting from the police were because it was, you know, pre-1990. The history had all been hooliganism, isn't it? So they were certainly. They weren't shy, shall we say, the foreign police, the Italians.
Of course, the Italians weren't. You know, we weren't exactly a flavour of the month with the Italians because of the Heysel either. You know.
Yeah, so the year before.
I think English fans weren't exactly looked on in any great light.
No.
In Italy in 1990, anyway. I had a few mates that went over there for some of the games, and some of the stories that they said were just, you know, ridiculous.
Yeah.
What happened over there as well. So, but yeah, I mean, that was what football was in them days, and we just accepted it and we enjoyed it and we loved it, and you know, it was raw. I think raw is a very, very good description of it. Actually, I think that does pretty much sum it up. It sums up 80s and very, very early 90s football before the Premier League got involved, and it did become what it is now. That was the process, wasn't it? Really? Yeah.
And I'll give you another word, Richard. It was almost like, I suppose you use the word cult, don't you? If you're describing something that maybe a small amount of people are interested. Maybe like the young ones, the television show that I was watching the other night, laughing at, don't seem to be so funny now. But football was almost like a cult for quite a lot of people. And it was for the it weren't for the faint-hearted, was it? I mean, it was.
No.
It was,
it wasn't. No, absolutely not. I mean, one of the big differences actually about that, you mentioned it now, like, even now sometimes I still can't get my head around it. Like, you'll go into work now, and pretty much everybody at work will have some sort of opinion about football. They've watched football, or they're interested in football, or whatever it is. Whereas when I first started going to work in the mid-'80s, when I first left school and went to work, if you was a football fan, you were basically looked upon as like scum of the earth, and people wouldn't want to associate with you, apart from the people that went to football. And it's almost like you could speak about football at work, because if you did, people think, oh, you go to the matches there, keep away from you, kind of thing. That was how it was, wasn't it? That was how he was treated in them days. And now it's like everybody's into football, aren't they? Every single person. You can talk to anyone at work. Anyone I talk to about football now, it's like, I can remember when you couldn't speak to no one about football at work.
No. As I mentioned earlier, it definitely switched from the working classes to it's not a middle class sport, but it's a sport that's attended, I don't know about mainly by the middle, not mainly, but a high proportion now by those seats, and the Emirates for club level and all the rest of it, and pay a small fortune, right? And it's kind of passed around, obviously season tickets are passed around between people who work for companies, so it's it is completely different kettle of fish.
Yeah, it is. It has completely changed, and but in 1990 it hadn't. Russ in the chat says, "Hi guys, how you doing, mate?" He says, going back to the Ireland thing, he said, "Now we steal all Ireland's players. Our times have changed." Well, we obviously Declan Rice is one, isn't it? That
Jack Grealish,
and Jack Grealish as well, of course. Terry's in the chat as well. He says, "Evening, Richard and Lee. I'm listening but working at the same time. Just heard that Brazil are winning 4-0, 36 minutes played. Are they? Wow. There you go.
Well, Terry, I don't recall Terry. Thanks for that. I was hoping to catch it after this. I'm not that worried, honestly.
Missed the first half. Maybe miss it all now, because I think they're pretty. We did get a penalty shootout earlier. Actually, the first penalty shootout earlier on tonight. Against,
I wrote. I think I wrote to someone on Twitter, Richard. Note to Arteta: don't let Tommy take any penalties, based on how good Japanese players are at taking penalties. Pretty hopeless.
Yeah, they were the worst. Some of the worst penalties I've ever seen at top level football in my life. All of them were terrible.
They were desperate. Although he can probably connect. I would imagine with a football, he could probably strike a ball quite well, Tommy. But the rest of them, they were about as bad as I've ever seen, right?
What I kind of felt was a little bit, and that's obviously not true, but the Japanese are a very friendly, nice little bunch of people. They clean their change rooms after they've played. I just thought maybe they're too nice. They don't want to hit the ball too hard in case the goalie got hurt. So we thought, we'll just pass it to him. We'll let them go through. Not bothered. That's what it felt like, didn't it? Like they wasn't taking it seriously enough. They were quite happy just to play nice and let whatever that was kind of thing. But it was. I mean,
not that I'm ever going to be in that situation, Richard. Right, but if I was, I'd be putting my foot through it, and I'd be picking a corner or straight down the middle, and be thinking,
straight down the middle.
I'm going to whack. Lump it. Get your head over it. Keep it low. I'm making it sound straightforward now. Plenty of better players than me, obviously, have missed penalties, but don't do what they did. I mean, what Lineker did against Brazil when he could have equalled Bobby Charlton's record, which was like hilarious. When if people haven't seen it, look it up. Look up that penalty that he could have had to equal the great Bobby Charlton.
I always remember something Ian Wright said, funnily enough. He was talking about penalties once. I saw this interview with him. And what he said, particularly if it's an important penalty, so if it's late in the game and it's going to be a chance to win the game or draw the game, or obviously a penalty shootout, he said the goalkeeper wants to be a hero, so he'll dive. So put it down the middle.
Yeah.
And if you notice, the amount of players that take a penalty very late in the game go down the middle. And I think that's right, because the goalie wants to make a name for himself, wants to be the hero. So he'll dive to try and save it. He won't stand still because he'll look an idiot if it goes in the corner.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Years ago, he said, put it down the middle.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nerve. Yes, it's a nerves thing. The keeper standing there. you got to have a lot of bottle to think, right, I'm just going to stand up in the middle, because he's thinking the adrenaline's going. He's thinking, right, I just need to dive. So you just got to be smart. And it's just that little dink in it where it's like a couple of feet off the floor. Don't hit it along the floor. Make sure it's two and a half feet off the floor. 9 times out of 10, you're going to score. I think one of the Croatian players took a penalty like that, and surprise, straight in. But now you're seeing all these penalties where they're doing what's his name, the guy who plays for Chelsea. Yeah, the little kind of the feigned run up.
Jorginho,
which is to give him his due. He scores more than he misses, but just I'm old school. Stand up and smash it, much like Lineker, going back to 1990, Richard Lineker, right? Because I just said he screwed it up in that Brazil game at Wembley, but he was pretty good in the Cameroon game, didn't he? He put 2 good penalties. One smashed it. Yeah.
I mean, the thing was, and I think I remember Lineker talking about that, because obviously the first penalty was quite important, and he placed that in the corner. But he said for the second one, he said it's very difficult taking the second penalty against the same keeper. So he just went for percentages and just smashed it down the middle. And that's what sometimes they're the best penalties to take, because the goalie is going to want to try and save it, isn't he? How many goalies in the penalty shootout stand still? Hardly any. They'll always die one way or the other.
No.
And I don't understand why more players don't think of that. I think, well, I'll just stick it down the middle. They overthink it now, I think, sometimes. They think they want to do something clever, put it in the corner or whatever they were trying to do. And it's like, no, just straight down the middle.
I mean, it's not easy, right? People say, "I'll just stick it in the top." It's not easy, right? The connection, right? The pace. You could hit the bar, sky it. I mean, I just think there's too many variables, right? I just think if you've done the analysis, not that I would, but straight down the middle, side foot, just keep it off the floor, and just say if the keepers just stood there, they'd save more than they conceded, but they all do. They kind of wait till the last minute, and then they're kind of doing this, moving side to side, trying to get. It's like this guessing game. Funny.
No, it is. I mean, I know it's easy for us to sit here and say how they should take the penalty. Not us, is it? But I personally would. I would just smash it down the middle. That's it. That's all I wouldn't even think of doing anything else. Just literally because if it goes in, if it's on target, right, it's got a very good chance of going in. If you hit it hard and straight.
Talking of penalties, Richard, back to Italia in 90, there was some big old penalties. There was our boy, Mr. O'Leary, went there against Romania.
There was. I mean, we were talking obviously the last 2 World Cups, where obviously in '82 there was the first ever World Cup penalty shootout, the semi-final, France against Germany. Then in '86 there was 3 of the quarterfinals went to penalties, but they were the only World Cup penalties there'd ever been. And suddenly in Italia 90, there seemed to be penalty shootout after penalty shootout. Just in that knockout stage, it was full of them, wasn't it? It was the first. That was the first World Cup, again going back to sort of the first and last and stuff. That was the first World Cup where the penalty shootout became so important. There were so many of them, wasn't there? And it hadn't really been like that before, had it? And that was the first one when pretty much every knockout game seemed to go penalties, didn't it? Or most of them did.
Yeah, it did. I think was it '86 was the first tournament at the last 16, didn't it? Before that, '82 you had the groups of 3 that we never made it through. So it was the first time there was a mass kind of like first round knockout, last 16 knockouts. But just trying to think, Ireland against Romania, O'Leary, kind of quite a simple penalty, and then we. What else did we have? Obviously, the World Cup final was decided by a penalty, wasn't it? Andreas Brehmisch. That was a bit no messing around, straight in the corner. Obviously, and then both semi-finals. I'm missing.
And I think there was there 2 of the quarterfinals as well. I think went to penalties. So there was penalty shootouts galore in this World Cup. Now, sort of going back to England, obviously in the England group. Now, the very strange thing about England's group in this World Cup. And I don't know whether it's ever happened before or since, or any other World Cup. There was only out of all the games played in our group, only one game was won. All the others were draws.
Yeah.
And the only game that was won was England beating Egypt 1-0.
Egypt, Mark Wright header,
And that was the only game that actually was won. All the other games were drawn. I've never known that before, actually.
No, we drew against Ireland, didn't we? I think the Irish drew obviously against Holland 1-0. Noel Quinn. Yeah. And the keeper had the fumble up, didn't he? And obviously we drew against Holland, and that was the first time I think I'd ever seen England play football. Right, but prior to that, it was the normal kind of, as my mum, I could hear my mum sitting there going, for God's sake, why do they hit it from side to side? And Ray Wilkins to left, to the right, back again. My mum's like, why does everyone else run around and just play football, and we just like send teams to sleep? Wilkins to, I'm taking it on Ray Wilkins, God rest him soul, because he was a great footballer. But it was you had players like Hoddle standing there, and we were just going from side to side. It wasn't particularly good to look. But that Holland, that sticks out, Richard. That Italian 90 game when we changed the system, didn't we?
To sweeper.
Free at the back. Mark Wright was a sweeper, and Paul Parker was down the right. Pierce down the left, and we suddenly Gazza was just running the show. And I was like, blimey, this is, what was I then, 22? This is the first time I'd seen England play any, from what I can remember, decent football. Before then, we were functional, and we had a good team, obviously in '86, and your Terry Butchers and your Wilkins and your Robsons. But it was like a power game, wasn't it? With Brian Robson and Paul Mariner, '82. But we were actually playing football when against Rue Hillett, and we were unbelievable. So that sticks out. That's a bit of a defining moment.
It was. I mean, that was play that way. That was probably one of the best ever 0-0 draws I've ever seen. Actually, it was incredible game of football, wasn't it? Like you said, England were brilliant that night. Absolutely fantastic. And Holland were a good side then as well. Let's not forget they were
unbelievable
good side. They'd
They've
won the Euros, hadn't they, 2 years before? So they were the European champions.
Yeah, with that unbelievable Marco Van Basten strike. But Van Basten, Rijkaard, Hullet. Brilliant, unbelievable team. I think we deserved to win it, didn't we? Had the Gazza. He done the Cruyff turn, didn't he? And then crossed it for Lineker. I think he was like an inch or two from scoring, but I think after that, I think that the next time I see England play that well was against Holland. Funny enough, against Holland in Euro '96. Right?
Right? Yeah, it was. You're right.
I mean, probably the game most that sticks in my head. Funny enough, I bumped when I name dropping. I bumped into Teddy Sheringham, our great enemy, and he was talking about that game. I was chatting to that game about him. Chatting to him about that game. He said what an unbelievable game it was to play, and we completely played him off the park, didn't we, that night?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that is still probably the best England performance I've ever seen. I think that one was. Yeah. And the Holland game in the '90 World Cup was, I'd say, probably the best 0-0 draw I've ever seen. And England should have won that game as well. And that was the moment in that World Cup, wasn't it, when Gazza really sort of came into his own? Because in the Republic of Ireland game, the first group game, England didn't play very well at all. We were very average. Gazza didn't do a lot, did he? And nobody did. Really. And then the Holland game, suddenly, the change of shape, I think, helped Gazza, didn't it? Because it meant that he could have a lot more influence get on the ball more. Which is what he to do, didn't
he? He was freed up. But if you remember that night in Sardinia, that game against Ireland, it was blowing an absolute gale, wasn't it? When they show him preparing to kick off, the wind was unbelievable. I think you were playing against the Republic. You couldn't have made it up. You was playing against a team who were just going to lump it. So it was, trying to follow the ball, swirling around in. It was hardly ideal conditions, but as you say, got through against Egypt, against Belgium. And I was thinking about the Belgium game. And I was thinking, it's weird that we've all got memories about how great we were, but we could have, same as in Euro '96 against Spain, Richard, when we should have gone out when they scored a perfectly good goal. The game against Belgium, right? I think they hit the post, Schifo, at least twice, maybe 3 times. They hit the post, and we really rode our luck. But that gets forgotten, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I mean,
it's amazing.
To be honest with you, but obviously, we know England ended up doing well in that World Cup. But when you look at the performances, there was 1 or 2 really good performances, and there was 2 or 3 very, very averagely bad performances, actually. But in the World Cup, I suppose you get that, don't you? You're not going to play well every single game, because the games are so close together that you're going to get a good game here and you're going to get a bad game there. It's just a matter of getting the results. Yeah. That Belgium game, I remember that. We were very lucky to be 0-0 up at
we were.
Time, wasn't we? We were very lucky to be in that game. And sometimes that's what you need. And we got that goal just before. I mean, it would have been penalties, wouldn't it, if David Platt hadn't scored that fantastic sort of volley from Gazza's free kick in the last minute. That would have gone to penalties and we'd have probably lost.
Yeah, I think that was, again, writing notes down, what was the most unbelievable moments, right? And that, obviously, it was amazing getting to obviously beat Cameroon. But I think in terms of joy, I watched it in a pub on, there was like tiny portables up on the corner of each side of the bar. And we watched it. You know, there's no way people would watch football like that now. We all kind of went down at 6 o'clock and the place was packed. And when that goal went in for David Platt, I think that was the most euphoric I've ever felt over England, because I care more about Arsenal, but it was still that was an unbelievable. I think that was the highlight, that goal for everyone. Yeah, I mean that really was. It was because it was so spectacular and it was so late, wasn't it? In after extra time, just about to get a pen. So that stands out for me as a massive memory. That one.
Yeah, it was, and I think that was the moment where I think everybody started to believe, you know what, maybe, because we knew it was Cameroon coming in the next round, and I think we all felt that we could beat Cameroon because you know we'd seen them play and they were a bit unpredictable and stuff like that. And obviously, they had Roger Miller who was doing his dancing around the corner flag and all that kind of stuff. But I think everybody felt they were beatable, and I think that Belgium game, that moment when Platt scored, I think that was when we started to think, you know what, we could actually win this.
Go all the way.
Yeah, you know, I certainly started to believe that we could at that point. And you know, we'd seen the other teams, and everyone had been a bit hit and miss. I mean, Brazil got knocked out, didn't they, against Argentina that same round earlier on? Canija goal that you mentioned. You know, West Germany had knocked out Holland, and that was quite a lively game, wasn't it? Because those two don't get on most of the time, do they? And that was one of the better games in the tournament. And of course, Germany knocked Holland out, so that was Holland gone, another decent team. And you know, Republic of Ireland was still in it because that was the Romania game when they won on penalties. And of course, the host Italy, obviously, were through as well. And of course, this was the World Cup when a little guy called Salvatore Schillaci, I had heard of, took the World Cup by storm, didn't he? That World Cup, didn't he? For Italy,
he did. I mean, a funny story. I was watching that.
You didn't meet him as well, did you, in a restaurant?
No, I didn't meet him in a restaurant. No. You meet these people in Marbella, but definitely Claudio Caniggia. That was pretty. My jaw was on the floor, and I had 3 people sitting with me thinking, "Who the hell was Claudio Caniggia?" Right? And I'm like, "You're Claudio Caniggia." Quite funny, no. But I watched the Italy-Austria game, the first game, I think.
Yeah.
Hang on. Argentina played first. It was on a Saturday night. It was the very next night, so I was doing what I did every Saturday. I was in a nightclub in Welwyn Garden City. And they were showing the game in the club, and it looked like a boring old game. And then they suddenly took Vialli off, didn't they? And then they took this little guy on. I think he'd played in. I'm pretty sure he was in the second tier of Italian football. I might be wrong, but
no, he had been. Sure I think that season he'd gone to Fiorentina or somebody and had a great season. Scored like 20 goals. The first season he'd played in the top flight before that World Cup, and he was a late inclusion in the squad. No one had really heard of him much, and he came on as a sub in that first game, scored the winner, didn't
Austria, he? That header. It was it was a header when it was a cross. Actually, no, I think was it a cross from Vialli? Funny enough, I think he ended up replacing Vialli. I'm pretty sure Vialli spun down the right. Oh, that was it. So again, I watched a program on it, and it was interesting, really interesting for me, because he scored, and in the next game, Schillaci was still a sub, right?
Yeah,
they beat Austria 1-0, and he was a sub. And there was an Italian forward who basically got subbed after about 60 minutes, and he started effing and blinding at the Italian manager. Right after that, he was completely bombed out, and Schillaci was in.
Schillaci got his place. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and that's how he got his place. And obviously didn't know that, but Schillaci said, he told the manager to F off, and he was done after that. Schillaci must have thought, happy days. Right place, right place, right time. It just shows you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was, and he ended up getting the golden boot, didn't he? Schillaci, he seemed to come on and score, and he got a regular place. And I mean, that Italian team wasn't one of the great Italian teams. Let's be honest; they was not where they had been in previous World Cups, and obviously his goals ended up taking them all the way to the semi-final. Italy, didn't they? And they only lost out on penalties to Argentina. And I didn't even think that Argentina team were that great, if I'm totally honest.
No.
I said this when we looked at the '86 World Cup last week. I actually said that I felt as though if we'd beaten Argentina in that game, the Maradona game, we'd have won that World Cup, because I think we'd have beaten Belgium in the semi-final, and I think we'd have beat that Germany team in the final. And in 1990, we definitely would have beat Argentina in the final, because they wasn't that great.
No. So we could have won back-to-back World Cups as easy as that. Yeah, I mean,
done,
I think the Germany game in '86 would have been tougher. They had, I think, Rummenigge and the rest of
they
them.
were better. I still think we could have beaten that team that we had.
We could have beaten. Yeah, we had a very strong team, didn't we? Yeah, so it would have been a tough game, but yeah, we probably would have had the edge, but we definitely would have beaten that Argentina. So if just small margins, eh? But it was Scalacci scored the goal that knocked Ireland out in the quarterfinal in Rome, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he scored against. I think there was I think the last 16 game was Uruguay. He got a screamer.
Yeah, he did.
Think from outside the box. So ended up top scorer. Yeah. Amazing World Cup.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. So no one heard of him before, and he disappeared pretty much after that, didn't he? And he never really.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't really push on his career after that. But I mean, he had his moment in the spotlight, didn't he? And he certainly enjoyed that World Cup. He was brilliant, wasn't he?
He did. I'll tell you, he stood out for me. It was a big time. I mean, I love the silky players who kind of run with the ball. So I'm going to say one name here, Roberto Baggio, right? And the goal, I think he got. I think it was against. It was either Czechoslovakia or the US. I think the US were in that World Cup, but he basically just picked the ball up on the halfway line and just done this slalom all the way.
I remember that.
Into the box with this. What a footballer! What a footballer! He was amazing. That's before he was a big star. I think he was obviously pretty well known in the Italian team, but I always remember that run. He just picked it up and just run. It was one of those still Baggio.
That's right. Yeah. I think it was Czechoslovakia actually that he scored that against.
That's it. You're right. Yeah, it was Czechoslovakia. Yeah.
But I remember that goal. That was one of the best goals in that World Cup, wasn't it? And then the longer the knockout stage went on, the kind of more and more cynical it seemed to get the tournament, didn't it?
Yeah.
It seemed as though a lot of teams were playing for penalty shootouts after time. That they didn't try to win games. It was very negative. And Argentina being the worst of that, the worst culprits of it.
The worst culprits by far.
I think they realised that they wasn't good enough to win the games by playing football, so they just committed lots of silly fouls to stop the other team playing and basically wanted the game to go to penalties. No, they beat Yugoslavia on penalties, didn't they? I think that was in the quarter final.
That's right.
Obviously, in the semi-final, they beat Italy on penalties, and they wasn't a very good team at all. But yet they got to the final, and that really frustrated me. The draw if we played Argentina in the semi-final, we would have absolutely hammered them. We would have hammered them because
I mean, sorry, Richard, interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Go on.
I was just going to say it's the first time Jose Mourinho's name popped into my head. The dark arts. Right, it was Argentina were all about like that Porto. I'll never forget that UEFA Cup final, Celtic versus Porto. All the diving, falling over, pulling the shirt, feigning injury. It was proper, Mourinho playbook. The Argentinians with Maradona, they had it off to a T. And it was ironic they played that game, that semi-final against Italy. They played it in Naples, didn't they?
Naples,
where Maradona was a hero.
He was God, wasn't he? He was absolute God, wasn't he?
He was God. He was, he was numero uno. So I don't think he got a massive backlash. I think I'm remembering that Maradona documentary after he scored that really slow penalty. I think he just rolled it down the middle, didn't he? Just to rub it in even more.
I think he left that pretty soon after that, didn't he? Actually, I think he left, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I don't think it was safe for him. I think he was. I think the mafia were in town, weren't they? He was definitely public enemy number one.
Yeah, he was. He was.
Yeah, I don't know where he went after that. I don't know whether he went back to. I can't remember who he played for in the early 90s. He'd go back to Argentina.
He got a ban, didn't he? Soon after the 1990 World Cup, he got a ban, didn't he, for some drugs or something? I think it was. He got a ban for like a year or 2 years. He didn't play at all, did he? And I think he went. I think he went to Spain, didn't he, for a bit, and then. I think he might have played for Atletico Madrid or somebody in Spain. And then he went. I think he ended up going back to Argentina, didn't he? And playing over there again
before the World Cup in
or somewhere.
Before the 94. The famous celebration in front of the camera with the
exactly. And what happened to him after that? But anyway, I mean, this was sort of a Maradona definitely past his best. 86 he ran the show. And 1990, he was definitely past. The whole Argentina team were past their best, and they struggled through the groups. Penalty shootout after penalty. I think they won 3 penalty shootouts in a row. Oh no, they beat Brazil. Then they won 2 penalty shootouts and got to the final. And they wanted to take the final to penalties as well because they never even tried to win that game.
No.
And they were shocking actually, but they reached the final. And then obviously the quarter final, England. Cameroon probably remains one of the most famous England World Cup games ever, doesn't it? It was one of the. I mean, I thought we went into that game and I was 100% convinced we would win pretty easily.
Same.
I thought Cameroon, they were naive in the way that they played. They had some good individual players and they were physically strong, but I thought they were far too naive. I think we'll just pick them off. Not a problem. We were 1-0 up. David Platt scored, and this is nice and easy. We're gonna win this game. And the next thing we know, we're 2-1 down, and it's absolutely disaster going on. We're thinking, what on earth has happened here? And Cameroon were brilliant that night, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. I mean, as you say, we were sailing, pierced ball into the middle for classic David Platt header, and we were cruising, and then it was almost like popped into the kitchen, put the kettle on, 2 minutes, come back, we're losing 2-1 with that. It was Gazza who gave the penalty away, didn't he? I think for the first trip in the box, and then they done that. I think it was in Keke and Roger Miller, maybe, who'd done that kind of 1-2. They'd done a couple of 1-2. It was a lovely goal and a lovely finish. And Shilton looked every year. He's 40 years when that ball flew past him, as he did in the penalty shootout. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but
no, I agree with it. I agree. He definitely was past it by then. He was miles past it, unfortunately. But that was a great goal actually. The second Cameroon goal,
brilliant.
And it was a Keke, wasn't it, who scored it? And at that time, it looked bad, didn't it? We think Jesus Christ. And I thought that Cameroon actually played well in that game. They, that's probably one of their greatest ever World Cup performance, actually, Cameroon, and they ended up losing. And they were unfortunate. And again, I think it was maybe that naivety to give away those 2 penalties, the one just before the end of normal time.
It was rash, Richard, wasn't it? They were rash penalties, both of them, really. Well, the first one more so. Lineker just got on the edge of the box, and he just thought
he just turned away
early.
And
Bosh, down he went.
I mean, nowadays, I think defenders would be a little bit smarter, wouldn't they? They would just sort of rush it over to the side. They wouldn't dive in like that. But Cameroon were like that. They'd been like that all tournament, hadn't they? And I think it was sort of naive, really. They, they didn't seem to have any worries. They didn't seem to have any tactics as much. They just sort of went out and played football like they were playing with their mates over the park. That's what they seemed like, didn't they? And in the end, it cost them because they made 2. Well, particularly that first penalty. 7 or 8 minutes left of the game. And they had to hang on for, and to do that was terrible, really, from their point of view. But obviously, from us, it was brilliant. Lineker, you knew he'd score because he was Lineker, and that's what he did, and he tucked it away. And I always felt in extra time we would be too strong for him, and we were. Yes, it was another penalty that got us the win. Gazza put the ball through, didn't he, to Lineker?
Lovely ball,
brilliant ball, and obviously Lineker got through, and he took it around the keeper and got clipped. And he did what we said before, smashed it down the middle. That's what you do when it matters.
Exactly. It's just that little bit of cuteness, isn't it? From Lineker. I won't say he was looking for it for the first goal, but he felt the touch. It was probably quite a strong tackle by today's standards, and he went. And the same for the second goal, the Gazza pass. He probably already decided the minute he started going around that goalkeeper. He probably decided, right, slightest touch, I'm going over.
I think he decided either the slightest touch, I'm going down, or I'll go around him and score. That's the 2 things he was going to do, one or the other.
One or the other. Well, when he got close to him, down he went, and that ref couldn't wait. I remember the referee sticks in my head. He does. He just kind of went like this.
He loved it, didn't he? He absolutely loved it. He loved him in the penalty, didn't he? He absolutely loved it. And we loved it as well because that was great. And obviously that Lineker scored that penalty, and that was it. And Cameroon weren't coming back from that at that point in the game in extra time, and we got through the first ever World Cup semi-final that I'd seen because 66 I wasn't around. I know you wasn't around, so, and it was the first semi-final, and that was such a big moment, wasn't it, for English football? It really was. Huge. Because everyone 66 wasn't even that long ago in 1990, really, when you think about it.
No,
compared to what it is now, but it seemed like a long time then, obviously, and. To be in the semi-final of the World Cup, after we'd started so badly in the Republic of Ireland, after we'd got dumped out the group stage in the Euros 2 years before, we wasn't, we hadn't we hadn't been one of the most fancied sides, and suddenly
No.
we'd found our way into this semi-final.
Semi-final, yeah.
And it was just that to me, and that remains now. And I know we've reached the World Cup semi-final since, and we got to the final of the Euros last year, but that still remains to me my favourite ever. I know,
same.
Apart from the penalty shoot, my favourite ever England game by an absolute country mile.
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
Every minute of that game, apart from the penalty.
Yeah, apart from the penalties and the Gaza yellow card, but I think it is for our era. It will never get better than that. The same way, right? The same way as it's just the way. This might be controversial the way I feel. We could go and win the Champions League next year and win the league, right? Nothing will beat Anfield '89, maybe because of we're the same age. Roughly 21. I was 21.
Yeah, I was 21,
young. So as I like to say to my Spurs mates who were giving me stick last May, like no end of stick about the disaster we had at White Hart Lane at Tottenham Stadium. I said, well, there's one thing for sure: you'll never experience winning the league in your early 20s because now you're 50, right? You're 50 odd, so you might win it. Unlikely, because as my old manager Dill used to say, you'll never win the league in my lifetime. And he used to say that back in the late 80s to Spurs supporters in our team. You'll never win the league in my lifetime. And he was 32 and he's like 64 now. So so at least we had it when we were young. And as you say, getting to that, maybe it is special being 21, 22, 23. When you hit these marks, it kind of sticks in your head forever, and that will always be the most memorable game, almost regardless what happens. We could win the World Cup in the next 2 weeks, right? Who knows? Stranger things have happened, but that game and the Euro '96 Germany game, I think that was such a special tournament, wasn't it? Again, it was such a great time.
It was, and I mean, and I still think that the Germany game in 1990, I thought we played a lot better on that particular day anyway. And the fact it was the World Cup and not the Euros, and I don't know, Euro 1996 was my favourite tournament because of everything, the music, the culture, the football, everything. That was the best summer of my life, probably.
It was same.
But that as a one-off game, the Germany semi-final in 1990 is my favourite ever England match.
So big.
My favourite ever England match, and the fact that we played so well, and the fact that we deserved to win that game, and we should have won that game, it makes it even more significant, really, because that's how close we were to the World Cup. It was that is. I think that is for the quality of opposition that we played, because that Germany team were good. They were
decent.
Very good side, weren't they?
Matthias, Lothar Matthias, Klinsmann,
they were absolute. Yeah, they were top quality.
They were mustard.
To play that well and to come back from a goal down. I mean, that Gary Lineker goal in that semi-final. That still for me is one of the greatest ever football moments when when he scored that goal. I mean that sort of moment there when he's got that goal.
There is.
I was in the pub watching that game, and I've never known anything like it when that goal went in. Literally,
I know.
Everybody just went absolutely mental. I was in Romford in the pub. It was brilliant.
Oh, was you really?
Yeah.
It wasn't in Hollywoods, was you?
No, we were in the bitter end, I think it was.
Oh right, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
and it was it absolutely went mental, and it was absolutely brilliant. And that obviously Lineker scored, and that was it. We were going to win.
Yeah,
and we were going to win. Didn't we hit the post or something in extra time as well? Didn't we?
Chris Waddle hit the post, didn't he? He went from the left and he crossed the goalkeeper, I think, hit the other post and it comes straight out. It kind of hit the post and just come back towards him. It was strange, but they may have hit the post. I'm not sure. Maybe that's another game, but they were a really, really, really strong team. So it was such a. I felt so sorry for Bobby Robson. All the rubbish he put up with in the years preceding that. The amount of stick that he got. Probably, I think, the worst of any. I know Graham Taylor copped it a bit, but I think Bobby had it for. I think he was in charge for 8 years. I think he had stick for 8 years. Bobby Robson for a long time. He got it, didn't he? Pretty much non-stop. So that would have been lovely. I felt particularly sorry for it. And Don Howe, obviously, he was was with him. I'm pretty sure in 1990. Thought it would have been good for him, but. It's just it's amazing the disappointment, and the Germans again on penalties. But
I mean, I know now we've got used to penalty shootouts because we've been in so many and we lose most of them. But that was the very first ever penalty shootout England had been in any tournament ever in history. And that was the very first time ever. So we didn't really have anything to go on, did we? We didn't know what to expect. I know Germany had a couple of penalty shootouts in previous World Cups and they'd won them, but I didn't know what to expect from a penalty shootout because we'd never been in one. And it was strange, wasn't it? It was the whole thing. It was horrible.
Well, even the players. I mean, I had Lineker say about an hour and a half ago after those penalties. He said back in 1990, he said, even I picked the ball up and like, what am I supposed to do? Juggle it, walk with it, right? He'd never had a penalty shootout, so it was new for the players as well. Definitely new for Chris Waddle.
It was.
The worst penalty ever.
I always felt, and you mentioned Peter Shilton before, and the chances of him saving a penalty seemed quite sort of small anyway by that point. He wasn't very agile and mobile, was he? And he was never going to get across and save a penalty. And obviously the German penalties generally had been pretty good up till that point. And of course, Stuart Pearce missed. And I knew then we'd lost because I couldn't see Shilton saving one. And the Germans wasn't going to put one over the bar or anything, were they? That's not what they do.
No, they were all in the corner. Which the thing you remember about Shilton, I'm not even sure Shilton was 6 foot. He may have been. But he may have been 5'11". He wasn't a tall goalkeeper.
No, he wasn't.
Right?
No.
He definitely weren't a tall goalkeeper. He was obviously above average height. But I'd be surprised if he was. I'd say 6 foot, absolute tallest, maybe 5'11". But he definitely was kind of same as Gordon Banks. I mean, Gordon Banks was that tall. That they weren't back then. Not like the giants they are now. That we have in goal. The Peter Cechs, 6'4", 6'5", who you'd have half a chance if you're diving to save that penalty, but. He was diving, but he might as well have been in the stand getting a hot dog.
Yeah,
he weren't reaching any of those penalties, was he?
No, he wasn't. No. And to be fair, they were good penalties, and whoever we had in goal, they probably wouldn't have saved them anyway. To be honest, but and obviously in the end, it did come down to Chris Waddle, didn't it? To take he had to score, and I think that's still in orbit now, isn't it? That ball, to be fair, because it kind of ended up in space, didn't it? NASA kind of had to find it, didn't they? In the end, it was ridiculous.
Funny, Richard. What another thing? I did try to be half prepared when I come on these calls with your good self. I wrote down a couple of mad moments, right? So I think one of the maddest moments I remember is, do you remember the Colombian goalkeeper with the
I do remember. Higuita, was it?
Higuita. I think it was the same keeper who done the
Scorpion.
The Scorpion. Yeah, pretty sure it was the same keeper at England. I was at that game, but he kept trying to dribble the ball out, and he got caught, didn't he?
I remember that.
It was a real comedy moment as he chased back.
Yeah,
and he tried
to foul him, didn't he? You tried to foul him. Nowhere near him.
Yeah, all you needed was that comedy music. Back in the day, wah wah wah.
Or Benny Hill music or something like
that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that was disaster. That was brilliant. That
Yeah, because he did it a few times. I remember he kept dribbling it out because he was going further and further up the pitch.
I'm sure that goalkeeper, he scored lots of goals in his career, because I think he used to take free kicks and penalties for his club side and even for Colombia.
That's right, yeah.
And I'm sure he actually scored. He scored some goals as well in his career. He scored a lot of goals.
Yeah.
He liked to play football, or tried to, and obviously he made himself look a bit of an idiot in that particular moment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's given me two brilliant moments, because I remember me and my brother were sitting there laughing our heads off. But fast forward about 2 or 3 years, I was at Wembley with a bunch of us went from our football team, and we were behind the goal when Jamie Redknapp done the cross, and he done his Scorpion, and we were like, did we just see that? And we were literally behind the goal. Couldn't believe it. It was the maddest thing ever.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. He was not wired up right in that morning. Like, he was completely one off. But brilliant.
I know. Unbelievable thing to do. I mean, but that getting dispossessed might have been Roger Miller. I'm not sure, and then the chasing back, I was like, I was in stitches.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah, it was brilliant. But I mean, as well, is this the World Cup? And you might remember more. Was there Was that the one where I think was it a Colombian defender scored an own goal, and when he got back home, he got executed, didn't he, or something? Was that this World Cup? Was it another one?
No, that was 94. That was, funny enough, his name was Escobar. Right?
It was. That's right, Escobar. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was,
was that 94? Was it? Oh, right.
94, and he went back. Yeah, he got shot or machine gunned, or it was unbelievable when you think about it. But Escobar of all the names to have.
Yeah,
I
know. Yeah, what a name! What a name to have. Russ in the chat there says Rene Higuita. Yeah, he was a goalkeeper. Rene Higuita. And Russ mentioned the Roger Miller celebration at the corner flag.
Yeah,
of course, famous in that World Cup. I think he was 40 at that time, wasn't he, or something?
Roger Miller? He was. Yeah, 40, 41. I don't think anyone actually knew for sure, no. But he was at least 40, and he was a decent player, wasn't he?
He came out of retirement for that World Cup, didn't he? Because he'd retired, I think, a couple of years before. And obviously they got in the World Cup and he wanted to play in the World Cup, so he came out of retirement because he played at the 82. Well, was it 82 World Cup? I think he'd played in that, hadn't he?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And then he retired and came out of retirement in that World Cup and scored about four or five goals, didn't he? He was like one of the top scorers in the World Cup, which was incredible.
Yeah, really. He did. Yeah.
Russ says there, Chilivert, the Paraguay goalkeeper, used to take penalties and free kicks. Yeah, I think he did as well. Yeah. In fact, Chilivert might be the top scoring ever goalkeeper in football history.
Blimey.
I think he might be in his career, and I know Higuita scored quite a few goals as well in his career. So
that'd be interesting, wouldn't it? To who is the highest scoring keeper?
Yeah, I mean, there's one that's got like about 50 odd goals or something in his career. There was, and a lot of them obviously were penalties, and he was like South American because I think they're a little bit different, aren't they? The goalkeepers, used to
fancy themselves a bit frustrated striker.
Well, they're all footballers that didn't quite make it as footballers. Like, what can I do? I'll play in goal. That way, I'll just go in goal and I'll be able to make it.
Exactly. Not similar to the old, bit different to the old Pat Jennings goal that he got. I think he got that I think he scored that for Spurs, didn't he?
Spurs against Man United. It was in the Charity Shield at Wembley, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he just took a long clearance and it bounced in. Obviously, that's happened a few times, hasn't it? Actually, over the years, with a bit of in the Premier League, there's been a few goalkeepers have scored, haven't there?
That's right. Yeah.
We've got Colonel's in the chat there. He says, Richard, make your moves. You've got Johnny Vegas on. He thinks you look like Johnny Vegas. Well, I don't know about that. I suppose there's a sort of resemblance a little bit, maybe. But anyway. But yeah, so I say that semi-final, we should have won. We were a better team. And that was the first time where we suffered the curse of the Germany penalties, which would happen a few times to us. And, we still haven't quite managed to get the hang of penalties, really, have we? Completely, as we saw in the final of the Euros last year. Unfortunately, we missed too many of them, didn't we? And in the end,
and against Portugal, I think in the Euros and the World Cup, didn't we? Twice, two tournaments running.
2 tournaments in a row. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I read somewhere, and I think it's probably still stands, that we are the nation that's lost the most penalty shootouts at major tournaments. We've been knocked out most times on penalties. I'm sure we are ahead in that particular. That's one thing we are good at doing. We're good at losing on penalties. So we're the world champions at that, aren't we? Hopefully one day we might win that. We've only won one at a World Cup and one at a Euros, I think, ever in history. So
Spain and Colombia, but Argentina and when Beckham got sent off, I mean, 98.
We lost that one as well. World Cup 2006, the Euros 2004, obviously the Euros final 2021. We lost on penalties, and it's been a theme. But that was the very first ever penalty shootout that we'd ever been in, and that kind of set the standard and set the theme, really, didn't it, for the rest of the after that, really, penalty shootout. So that was
the dreaded. That's the word, the two words in front. As Gary says, the dreaded.
Since then, if we'd won that one, maybe we'd, like Germany, we'd love them because, but anyway. It seems amazing now, even just thinking about it, and that was the first ever penalty shootout England had been in. It just seems almost unbelievable because it doesn't seem like that long ago when you think about back to that World Cup. It seems like it was quite recent. Obviously, it was 32 years ago, but to think that was the first ever penalty shootout we'd been in. You think of how many we've been in since, how much agony we've suffered as a result of penalty shootouts, and that was the very first ever one. It's just amazing, really. absolutely.
So I'm
amazing.
just trying to think off the top of my head, Richard. What did they do prior to that? Obviously, going back to '82, there were group games, weren't there? And there were no knockouts as such.
82 was the first actual ever penalty shootout in a World Cup, which was in the semi-final, because the semi-finals were the knockout. I mean, I think the Euros in 1976 was the first ever penalty shootout at a tournament, wasn't it? When Czechoslovakia beat Germany, that Panenka penalty in that shootout.
Panenka, that's right. Yeah,
and that was in '76. I think the rule for penalties had come in the mid '70s, but there hadn't been a World Cup. The game hadn't actually gone that far, apart from that semi-final in '82. It never happened. And then suddenly, now obviously, as the World Cup changed, there were more knockout games. It became more likely to be penalty shootouts, didn't it? Just the law of averages. The more knockout games you've got, you know, in the other World Cups there was like 2 knockout games or 3, the 2 semi-finals and the final. That was it.
So less chance. So if for example in '78 Holland and Argentina would have drawn, that would have gone to penalties, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm assuming so, because the '76 Euros it had, and I don't know whether the rule was different in the World Cup than the Euros, but I'd assume it would have been the same.
Maybe.
Because obviously, '82 was the first penalty shootout at '82, so I'd assume in '78 they would have had one if it had gone that far. Yeah.
Or say the famous, Brazil, Italy in 1970, had that been drawn, that game been drawn, no penalties, I assume it would have been a replay.
Yeah, I think in '70, I don't think there was penalties in 1970. I don't think it had come in at that stage. I don't think it had.
So replay would have been a replay, wouldn't it? It must have been. Toss a coin.
I don't really know what I don't know what they would do, because I mean I suppose it was just fortunate that none of the finals in them days, a lot of them went to extra time, but none of them seemed to go to penalties or go. There's still a draw at extra time. So I don't know what they would have done. Actually, they must have had something in place. I don't know.
That's a good point. That's just odd, isn't it? When you think about it, right? So now all these games go to. I always think a good bet to do is both teams to win on penalties. I've done this a few times. Because, once it gets to extra time, 9 times out of 10, no one wants to make a mistake, do they?
No.
The Man U Chelsea final 2008, I've done both teams 10-1, getting into the betting. Same with Arsenal, Man United at Cardiff. Night before the game, Henry was out. I thought, well, we ain't going to win, but we ain't going to lose, right? So it's going to be pens. So I did again, hedged my bets. Both teams to win on penalties, 9-1. 100 on Man United, 100 on Arsenal. Happy days when Vieira stood up. Got that penalty, but you got to bet where your head when it comes to money. So you got to cover your bases, which is why I always do the other team. So especially in these, you imagine you would have done that in the '90 World Cup, Richard, right? You would have just done every team to win on penalties, right? You would have got 9-10-1. Yeah, you'd have been cleaning up.
Yeah, you wouldn't have, because there were so many penalty shootouts in that World Cup. But of course, in them days, though, you wouldn't have. There hadn't been so many before that, so you might not have assumed there was going to be. It's only really after that World Cup that penalty shootouts became more normal, or we accepted them as more normal in future tournaments, because obviously the next final was decided on a penalty shootout, wasn't it, in '94?
Yeah.
And that's sort of how it's gone, hasn't it? The World Cup since then, really, and the Euros as well. So we've got used to them now. But in 1990, it does seem strange to think how unusual it was at that time for penalty. They wasn't the normal thing, was they? They were quite a novelty, actually, wasn't they, at that time? I remember watching penalty shootouts and thinking, oh my god, this is unreal, this. Whereas now we've seen so many of them that you don't really think of them like that.
I know. Well, that's it. Even the FA Cup final. I mean, probably younger people will be surprised. No, the FA Cup final used to go to a replay.
Yeah, it did.
On a Wednesday night or a Thursday when we played Sheffield Wednesday.
I mean,
in the rain.
That's the weird thing with Arsenal, right? We were the last team to win the FA Cup in a replay, which was in '93, and then we were the first team to win it on penalties in 2005, which is kind of strange that we were the first on both of those two particular things.
We was,
And the last one to win in a replay, and then the first penalty.
First when they introduced penalties, I'm trying to think. The year before that was Man U Millwall, when it was, that was. I don't know. I think we deserved that win in 2005. We were robbed by Liverpool in 2001. Like, we were properly mugged, weren't we, in that the Michael Owen final?
And plus, it was Man United, and how many times have they cheated us out of games anyway?
Oh God,
to that. And after that, what I mean? That was at the same season where they cheated us out of the 49 games, wasn't it? That same season. So I didn't feel bad at all about. I remember we was at that game. We was walking back to the car after the game, me and my mate, and we saw a couple of Man United fans who obviously wasn't very happy. They're going, oh, like sort of saying how lucky we'd been and all this kind of stuff. Oh, I don't know how you can celebrate winning that. I'm like, well, you cheated to beat our 49 games. So I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Of course we're going to celebrate this. You know what I mean? We're really going to celebrate.
I know. Exactly. Well, I remember October 2004, the 49 games. My dad was in hospital. My dad had been really badly ill in hospital for about 2 weeks before I was going to lose him. And I remember thinking, oh, we got Man United. Surely my luck's going to change. After such a bad 2 weeks, we're going to beat Man United. So after the game, I'm looking up to the heavens thinking, cheers. Especially the way we lost. You would have accepted it if it would have been they would have played well. But to see him dive like he did was just one of the sickest things.
Well, it was more. I mean, that was a sickener, but it was also more the terrible refereeing in that game. I think that's the most corrupt lot of referee. I mean, how Rio Ferdinand never got sent off for that professional foul on Freddie Ljungberg in the first half of that game. I mean, that's the most blatant professional foul you've ever seen in your life. It was like the Willie Young one all over again from 1980. Wasn't it?
Maybe we got. I had a West Ham fan mention that to me the other day. Funnily enough, when we was talking about. So it's funny. There's always something back in history where you've done the similar thing, much like the cricket today when Pakistan were changing the gloves, having a toilet break, they were on the last wicket. We did it to them in 2009 in Cardiff against the Aussies. So funny sport. What goes around does seem to come around. But but it's funny. I can never remember many times that we've done anything dodgy. It's like the memory's blank apart from Perez going over his laces against Portsmouth. I can't think of many other times where I thought we've dodged a bullet. Leeds this season, maybe. We dodged about 11 bullets in that game, didn't we?
No, we did, but that wasn't really out to cheating. That was just, I mean, we were just fortunate.
We're just fortunate.
Lucky, wasn't we? You're right. The goal that was disallowed for Leeds shouldn't have been disallowed. That was the referee disallowed it, VAR, whatever it was, and then obviously they missed that penalty, didn't they? And they missed 50 other chances. So we were just lucky on that day. But there was. I can't think of too many times when you can look at it and say we cheated our way to anything. No. I can't really think of too many times in history that we've done that.
Willie Young, Robert Perez.
Willie Young, we lost that game anyway, so it didn't matter, did it? We didn't win.
No, I suppose not. He still cheated. He still pulled
it. It was terrible. It was terrible what he did, but we still lost.
What was terrible? Richard, what was terrible was the amount of stick I got for the next 2 weeks at school.
Oh, that was terrible.
I spent the week building up to it, just telling her after we beat Man United the year before how we was going to win the FA Cup. So you soon learn at a young age, keep it shut. When it comes, you come unstuck. I had about 15 people outside my gate waiting for me to come out after that game. I was like barricaded in my bedroom. I weren't coming in.
I remember that 1980 final because obviously I was everyone was West Ham at my school pretty much. The year I was in
Romford.
And and I remember going into school on the Monday. It was horrendous. Literally, my life was hell, and it was just horrible. And I couldn't believe it. Because obviously, beforehand, we were Arsenal. They were West Ham in Division 2. I was loving it. I'm thinking, we're going to hammer you guys on Saturday. That didn't last long, did it? And that was a horrible week. That wasn't no fun.
If you think about it, we got an early taste. We were about 11, 12. We got an early taste of football because 78. I was thinking, looking forward to the parade on the Sunday. We had a losing parade, but which we did back then. But that was nailed on. We were never going to not win that game. And then United game, I was thinking, 50-50. They were favourites, I think, from memory. And we actually won. So then the next year, I come back full of confidence, thinking, this is easy. You're going to win. Then it goes pear shapes again, and then you soon realise football is a cruel game, and you definitely keep it shut. Rule number 1.
That is probably the best way because it comes back to haunt you quite a lot, doesn't it? Football.
Early lesson.
But you're right though. Actually, I can't really remember thinking about it now. When we've cheated our way to anything, I just can't remember it.
No.
And maybe we've got bias, or maybe fans of other clubs will think of loads that could reel off loads of things that we've done.
But they could.
I'm not sure if they could though, because I can't actually think of any that springs. And yet we seem to have been cheated out of so many things. Obviously, the 49 game, we know about that. The Champions League final in 2006, we were cheated out of that, I think, because he was offside. Obviously, they're sending off as well for Lehman, which was ridiculous. And
Yeah.
I don't know, so many things seem to have gone against us, and not many things seem to have gone the other way.
No.
I can't think of when we've won things, we've had to win them ourselves, haven't we? We've had to, you know,
the hard way. Even the UEFA Cup final in Copenhagen. I remember when they awarded us the penalties was at their end, the Galatasaray, and I thought, oh, that's it. I started heading for the exit. I thought there was no way we're winning this penalty. Not at that end. You've seen the end. I said, this is all over. I'm going to go and have a drink early.
Yeah, we only scored. I think we scored one of them penalties, didn't we, that night as well?
Yeah. Oh, that was desperate. Nice place to go. If a little dangerous.
Not when you're playing Galatasaray. It's not a nice place to go.
It's
a nice place to go in for a holiday, but not when you're playing Galatasaray.
Holiday,
yeah, that's not so much fun, is it?
Yeah, trapped inside pubs while they were outside wrecking it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that wasn't the nicest experience.
No. Not the friendliest of finals, was it? Down to them, more definitely not.
Well,
nice to them.
Yeah, no, definitely not. No, it was definitely down to them. But yeah, I mean, but these, I mean, that was, I know, I mean, that was a lot more recent in a sense. Obviously, that was in 2000, wasn't it? That was a lot more recent. But you know, football was still like that, wasn't it? Sometimes, especially in Europe, even
especially in Europe.
It can still be now, actually. It can even still, because the Leeds fan got killed, didn't they, in that semi-final?
Killed, didn't he? Yeah, a few weeks back, about a month before. But there's definitely the odd breakout in there. But it is, I mean, God, compared to what it was, you know, again, I can remember my mum. I think 1980 in Italy, the European Championships, and they were literally, England were playing, they were rioting. And my mum going, "What?" My mum sitting there going, "What? Show up."
Yeah.
But it was like par for the course back then, wasn't it? You know, we were watching it. We thinking, like, England fans are fighting the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that was what it was. I mean, just going to football in the 80s, as we said before, you took your life in your hands most of the time, and you didn't always know if you were going to end up getting home in one piece, and sometimes you didn't. No. That was just the way it was. That was, you know, that was
exactly
half of the course. But I say, you know, after the World Cup in 1990, it changed, and we've now got the product that we've got today, which a lot of people love. More people probably love it now than they did back then, but I personally preferred it back then. But that's just me.
Same. No, definitely the same. But
he says, I get we were cheated in 2005, but you compare the two squads, I don't care. We were a much better footballing side, and as much as I love Arsene, Philly held us back at times. I mean, I think in 2005 in particular, and 2004, even Alex Ferguson said they couldn't compete with us in football terms, so they had to kick us. That was the only way they
rough us up. Yeah, Reyes.
That was what they decided to do. That was their tactics, because they couldn't beat us any other way.
Absolutely,
And we needed to maybe be better at dealing with that. And not that we were a soft team in them days, because we wasn't, was we? You know, Patrick Vieira wasn't shy, was he? Do you know what I mean?
No, Edu, they're all 6 foot. Even Perez was 6 foot, but he didn't particularly put it in. But most, I mean, Freddie could handle himself. So could Dennis, Ashley Cole, you know, Lauren. My God, I mean,
Sol Campbell.
Sol Campbell.
We didn't lose for 49 games because we could play football, but we could also mix it up when we had to. And no one intimidated us. But unfortunately, Man United seemed to have a little thing over us, didn't they, at that time?
Well, they targeted certain players, targeted Reyes, didn't they? Scholes and Phil Neville and Gary Neville seemed to target Reyes, I think, in that.
Yeah.
I think it was the semi-final we played in 2004. We got roughed up in that game. We got roughed up in the league for about 2 or 3 seasons up there.
Yeah, we did.
Them just kicking us and getting away with it. It's just like completely having about 4 or 5 free hits.
Yeah, that's right. And that, you know, referees needed to be stronger and protect us more. But anyway, Russ says there, Wenger didn't just change Arsenal, he changed English football as a whole. Yeah, he did. He changed diet, he changed the preparations, he changed everything, didn't he?
We did.
And unfortunately, at the time, because his ideas were so unique, we were light years ahead of everybody else. And then everybody else started to catch up. didn't they? That was what happened, unfortunately. We lost our kind of uniqueness, maybe, in that sense. And in the end, obviously, the players as well got a bit older, and you can't replace players like Thierry Henry and Patrick Vieira and Dennis Bergkamp and Robert Pires. You can't replace them because they were the best of their era. And
they were
always going to suffer and not be as good. And every great team goes through that, don't they? You know, all your great players suddenly start getting older, leaving, retiring, whatever it is, and you can't replace them. And you're never going to be quite as good again either. And that wasn't necessarily Wenger's fault. What was Wenger meant to do? You know, one, we didn't have the money because of the stadium. But even if we did have the money, who could he have bought to replace Thierry Henry? Who could he have bought to replace Dennis Bergkamp, Patrick Vieira? There was nobody out there. There was no player. You couldn't have replaced them. It was impossible. We were lucky that all those players were at Arsenal at the same time. Freddie Ljungberg, all of them. Sol Campbell. It was a perfect. It was a perfect balance of team.
It was.
You'll never get that again. And I don't care what anyone says. You know, Man City, this, Man City, that, Liverpool. You'll never ever, no team, Man United's treble team, whatever. Man United's treble team was the luckiest treble team ever because we should have won the double.
Easy.
But so you're never gonna get that blend again of a team at the peak of their powers, everybody all at the same time. And that's why we was 49 games unbeaten. And no one ever go 49 games unbeaten again. I think Liverpool got to 40, didn't they, recently? Was it 40 that year they won the league and stuff like that? But no one's gonna get 49.
It's just annoying to think how many we would have got to had we not been cheated that day, right? But I don't know. They may have scored, they may have won, but it was just the facts.
I don't think they would have. I don't think they would have without everything that went on in that game. I don't think they would have won. And I think we could still be unbeaten now. 350 games later.
Exactly. That'd be a hard song to sing, wouldn't it?
It would,
not 49. 470, 3,452 undefeated.
But unfortunately not. But anyway, that'll never happen again, which is good. It's another great thing that we've been lucky enough to experience, you know. And you know, I've got past the point now where yes, I would love to see Arsenal win the league again, and I'd love Arsenal to win the league again for the younger generation of fans that's never seen it, actually, and it'd be great for them.
Same.
I can kind of take it or leave it now because everything that we've experienced as fans, we're never going to be able to top that anyway. You know, we're never going to go an unbeaten season again. We're never going to do it at Anfield again. You know, we're never going to experience all those things that we've experienced before. And there'll be new experiences. And you know, I want us to win big trophies again. The Champions League would be great, wouldn't it? Because we've never won that one.
Yeah, we haven't won that. Yeah, that would be different for us, wouldn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, that would be the thing. But winning the Premier League now would be great. Don't get me wrong. But I've experienced it before. It wouldn't. If we never win the Premier League again, I'm not going to be overly fussed because I've seen us win it 5 times. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yes, it'd be nice. Don't get me wrong. It'd be nice.
Yeah.
But it's not the be-all and end-all now because
it's not. Unlike as I mentioned earlier, all my Spurs mates, seem to have quite a few Spurs mates, and none of them have experienced it. Literally, none of them. You know what I mean? It's just so you've always got that. So as my friend Fred says to me when I'm getting stick off the Spurs, he said, "Listen, Lee, the only people you should take stick off are Man U and Liverpool fans due to what they won, they won in the game, right? Don't take any nonsense off Spurs."
No other teams' fans bother me because whatever they say to me, it's like, well, I don't really care. You know, Tottenham fans can say nothing to us ever, never, ever.
Yeah,
none of them. And I don't care they finished fourth last season above us on the last day. It doesn't matter. You know, what have them as fans experienced as Tottenham fans? And then you look at what we've experienced. It's like, well, I've never swapped with anybody. I wouldn't swap. In fact, I wouldn't even swap with Liverpool and Man United because of the way that we've done the things that we've done. No one's done it like we have they? Nobody has.
The hard way.
Yeah, Liverpool and Man United have won more trophies than us, and Chelsea in recent years have won more trophies than us. But they've never done the things that we've done in a way that they've never gone unbeaten.
No.
They've never won the league in the last minute against the reigning champions where they had to win 2-0 away from home. You know, they haven't won the FA Cup in the 121st minute because that's never ever been done, ever. You know, they've never, well, Liverpool won the FA Cup on penalties, but, you know, team just haven't done what we've done. You know, we've won the league at Anfield, we've won it at Tottenham twice, we've won it at
Alone twice. Yeah, they've never done that, have they? Yeah, Liverpool never won it.
Nobody's done that. Nobody.
Pretty unique.
Nobody's done it. And we're unique. And I wouldn't swap. I would rather be Arsenal and experience what we've experienced than be Man United and Liverpool. Maybe have won more trophies, won the European Cup, all this kind of stuff. I'd still rather done what we've done because what we've done is unique and no one else
feels more special.
Yeah,
I agree, mate.
everybody wins a Champions. Someone said to me, "Would you swap a Champions League for the unbeaten season?" I'm like, no. Someone wins a Champions League every season. No one goes unbeaten in the English game. Nobody does it. That's a unique feat that no one will probably ever do again. So of course I'd rather have that. A Champions League would be nice, but someone wins it every year. It's not a unique feat, is it, winning the Champions League?
And it's a cup competition. At the end of the day, you know, I mean, if Monaco can get to the final, I think in 2004. That tells you all you need to know.
Cup. Aston Villa won a European Cup. You know what I mean? It's, you're right. It's a cup competition. It's not. That isn't the benchmark of a good team. It isn't. The benchmark of a good team is winning your domestic league, because that's 38 games. You know, and that's what counts. Nothing else is as important as that. I don't.
Exactly, mate. I agree.
I still want to win it though, just because we've never done it. I want a little star on our badge just to say that we've won it. But that's the only reason.
Yeah.
If we'd won it before, I wouldn't be that fussed now. But we need to win it. It's the one thing missing in our CV, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it is. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I would say 2006. I always said, Richard, like
that was a time. That was our time.
That was our time. But more than that, I remember going to our goalkeeper Lehman. He was a very good goalkeeper. But I remember saying to people, he's going to cost us. He does crazy. He's got a bit of the Brucey Grobbelaar about him.
Yeah, he did.
Right.
Yeah.
And he does the odd crazy thing. I remember saying he's going to cost us in a semi-final or a final. And I think he'd done a crazy thing against Chelsea. I think when we got knocked out, I think at Stamford Bridge, he'd done something. I think he come running out and cost us a goal from memory. It's good Johnson or something. I need to have a look. But come charging out like he did. And what scares me, again, I might make myself popular, but I like our keeper, but he's got that in him. To me, he's got that little bit of
100%.
That little bit of Brucey about him, Brucey Grobbelaar. For people who don't know, I'm not talking about Bruce Forsyth. He's definitely got that. I need to be involved, right? I need to create a bit of havoc. No, you don't, Aaron. Just get the ball and just give it to someone quickly, or get it out of the field. Don't, because he's done it a few times. He's been great. I'm not knocking him, but he's definitely got a touch of the Brucey and a touch of the Jens Lehmann for me.
And I've said this quite a lot, and I know it's not a popular thing, but I actually think that Bernd Leno is a better all-round goalkeeper than Aaron Ramsdale. I actually think Chesney is as well. Is a better goalkeeper, all-round goalkeeper.
Yeah,
Aaron Ramsdale is
safer,
emotional, isn't he? You can't be that emotional as a goalkeeper. You can't, because it costs you.
No, you got to be cold. I mean, Chesney's been unbelievable. I mean, again, I even like Martinez. When we sold him, I was like, he seems pretty decent. Again, probably not popular, but I'm just calling it like I said. I thought he was a decent goalkeeper, and I was never sure, about Leno when he came in, but he did do well. You're right. He's a good all-round solid technique, and he's got no frills.
The only reason why we got rid of Bernd Leno is because Arteta wants his goalkeeper to be able to kick the ball and play out from the back. And that's not Bernd Leno's game. He's not particularly good at that. He's a much better goalkeeper. He's a better shot stopper. He's not great with crosses into the box, to be fair, either. But I don't think Ramsdale is particularly. But that's the reason why he bought Ramsdale, and that's what Arteta does. He buys players that fit in the way he wants to play, whether they're better or not than the players he's got.
And he's unbelievable with his feet. You got to say that, Ramsdale. His passing is unbelievable.
And that's what he bought him for that reason, because he fits the style of play. That's why. That's why the only striker he's bought is Gabriel Jesus, because he fits the style of play that he wants his centre forward to do. And that's why people have been saying, "Oh, we need a Giroud. We need to get Giroud on loan." I personally would love Giroud on loan, but Arteta won't buy Giroud because he doesn't fit his style of play. Absolutely no chance he's going to buy a player like he won't buy Mitrovic. He won't buy a centre forward like that, because that's not how he wants to play football. So he wouldn't fit.
No. I mean, I think I said I definitely went over Mitrovic. I just don't see Mitrovic fitting in. Giroud, it's probably a bit of nostalgia there. I won't lie, and we all love him. Yeah. And we need a striker. But you're right. It's pieces of the puzzle, right? So you need someone similar to do the amount of running that Jesus does. It'd be very difficult, if not impossible, to find someone. We just got to hope that. I
think what we're doing is, with Arteta, when all the pieces are in place. So, for example, when our first 11 that he's selected can all play together, it's very, very good, right?
Yeah.
The problem is when that can't happen because pieces are missing, because people are injured. it's very, very difficult for him to find the players to fit in and do that same job. It's impossible because it's such a specialist role in each position that we've got. And you can't get anybody to come and fill in like most other teams can. People can be flexible, playing 2 or 3 positions. They can do a job. We haven't got that because someone can do a job. But they can't do the job that Arteta needs them to do to fit into the system that he wants to play, because he's not going to adapt the system. He's not going to do that. He didn't do it with other players.
You can't. You can't ask Eddie to do what Jesus comes, not in a million years, because he can't do it.
No,
but who can? There ain't many players like that.
Exactly. That's the problem we've got now, isn't it? If Jesus is out for 3 months in January, what do we do? If we get somebody in, they're not going to be able to do what Jesus does, probably, because he's unique. He's got a unique skill set, hasn't he? And it's that's why he's bought him from Man City, because he knew exactly he can do that job. And who else? Someone said. I mean, today we're supposed to be maybe putting in a bid for Sadio Mane, not Sadio Mane, for Sane, who's played for Man City as well, because he's another player that Arteta knows. He won't take a risk with players he doesn't know, attacking players, because he hasn't had any success with any of them before. Pepe couldn't get a tune out of him. Aubameyang, Lacazette couldn't get a tune out of them, and he's going to go safe now. He's got Jesus, he knows. He's going to go for Sane, Leroy Sane, that he knows. He's not going to risk himself with an attacking player that he doesn't know. I think.
I read someone said today, I think it was on Twitter, they said maybe we'll bring Emil Smith-Rowe back on the left, Martinelli in the Jesus position. Not sure. No. I ain't sure about that at all. But I can see what they're thinking. You know what I mean, skillful player, but he's totally different. He's a winger. Never down the middle in a million years. So
that'll end up being a Theo Walcott situation where he's effective in a wide position, but he's not going to be anywhere near as effective player through the middle. He just won't. I agree.
No, we did it once for Henry, but that was it was different stamp when he was tall, leggy, he could run. I mean, he could fucking do it. He could play anywhere, to be fair. So
he could have done. You're right. Colonel says, do either of you remember when Van Persie sending off a white pass or kicking the ball away? That was a corrupt game as well, wasn't it? There's no doubt about it. It was funny, wasn't it? I remember that because we'd beaten them 2-1 at home, hadn't we, in the first leg? That was the Arsenal game.
Wilshere. Was that the Wilshere?
Wilshere game, yeah. And then we went away and we were 1-0 down and we equalised. It was an own goal. And we were in front in the tie. And obviously, the only way we wasn't going to win that game is to have a player sent off. So the referee obviously got involved, sent Van Persie off, we lost 3-1 and went out. And that was probably number 2 most corrupt game ever after the Man United 2004 game that we'd be involved in.
I mean, Van Persie said he didn't hear it, didn't he? I mean, I did. He should. I mean, I did think it was a stupid thing. I think he booted the ball away, which is kind of.
No, he had a shot at goal, didn't he? He had a shot at goal. Yeah. You're
right.
He'd run through. He'd been put through. Obviously, it was given as offside, and he's running towards the goal, and he had a shot, and I think it went into the side netting or something. And the referee sent him off, or gave him a second yellow card, whatever it was, for kicking the ball away. And he's gone, how can I hear the whistle in the noise of 90,000 fans? And he,
you're right.
Whether he did or whether he didn't hear the whistle is irrelevant. You can't book a player and give him a second yellow card for that, because what possible advantage is he trying to get? Not getting an advantage, is he? He was trying to have a shot at goal which missed anyway. So it's like it's ridiculous. That's madness. Absolutely mad.
Crazy.
Yeah, another thing you see, we've been cheated out of so many things, haven't we?
I know.
We would have probably won as many trophies as Man United and Liverpool if we wasn't cheated out of so many. So we can always live off that, can't we? We'd have won the Champions League 6 times by now if we hadn't been cheated out of so many of them. But anyway, I mean, that's slightly off of the 1990 World Cup. But it's relevant nonetheless, because it's sort of true, really. It is true. I mean, just to finish up on the World Cup, and obviously the final, West Germany against Argentina, which no one was bothered about because we'd lost. We were still depressed and sad, and cried into our beer. And actually, it turned out to be one of the worst World Cup finals in history, didn't it? Let's be honest.
Desperate.
It was
just Argentina trying to get a draw.
Yeah. they wanted to go to penalties. Although I don't know why, because they don't realise how good Germany are on penalties. I don't know quite why.
Yeah, exactly.
They wanted
That
it
was
to
a
go
flawed
penalties,
plan,
really.
wasn't it?
Because they were never going to beat them on penalties, were they? No matter how good they've been in penalties before. So yeah, it was a terrible final. It was decided by a penalty, oddly enough, near the end of the game. You see, it was Brahim who scored it. I think that was the second World Cup final he'd scored in, because I think he scored in was it 70? No, was it 82? He scored
82. Yeah.
Yeah, he
he'd
scored
been around
82
for a long
90,
time.
didn't he? He got 2 World Cup final goals, which is pretty good for a defender. as a defender, so he did all right, didn't he? But actually, one of the my favourite images of that World Cup is one of my favourite images of football all time, and it's this one. After Chris Waddle missed the penalty, Lothar Matthäus, instead of celebrating that Germany had won, his first thought was to go over to Chris Waddle, who had just missed, and kind of console him. And I thought that was an unbelievable classy thing to do.
Yeah, it was.
Know, because he must have been, delighted that they'd won, got to the final, and for him to think of the first thing to do isn't to celebrate with his teammates; it's to actually go
most of us would be,
who's just missed. And I thought that, to me, that image is probably one of the most powerful images in football I've ever seen, ever. And when you think of now how cynical football's become, you can't imagine a moment like that nowadays, can you? Happening?
No.
A player of that quality as well. He's like one of the best players in the world, Lothar Matthäus, at the time.
He was. Yeah. To, as you say, your first reaction is to go crazy, right? Most of us would. I wouldn't be thinking about the bloke who's missed it, but it's the penalty. So that just shows you the mark of the man, doesn't it? What a classy guy is. Amazing.
Yeah, and I think that is one of my favourite ever football images in history. That I just think that was, even at the time, I remember seeing it at the time live when it happened, and you're thinking, "Wow, that is incredible." And then you've seen, obviously it's been replayed lots of times, but that actual image itself, to me, is just it's so important. I think for football, really.
Sportsmanship. It's good old fashioned word, Richard. Isn't it? What we used to hear when we was at school, probably, and from our parents. Be a sportsman first and foremost. Very old fashioned. But the only other example I can think is in the cricket. Ashes. Brett Lee and Freddie Flintoff when the Edgbaston game when we won, didn't we? With I think by 1 run, and everyone was going. Edgbaston was going crazy, and then Freddie just went up to Brett Lee, and he was just consoling him, which is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, it is, and it's so rare as well. That's why it is. That's why it's so important because it's so rare. It doesn't happen very often, and it is a brilliant moment. And that for me was probably overall the highlight of that whole World Cup. Actually, in such a desperate moment for England and for Chris Waddle in particular. For that to happen, especially it's Germany against England, the history that England and Germany have had over the years, with everything else that's gone on. For that moment to happen, I just thought that was incredible, and it remains now. What I actually want to do, I want to get that picture blown up and actually put on my wall as a canvas, because I just think it is an incredible moment.
It is. You're right,
and it sums up what sport should be about. Yes, it's about winning.
Exactly.
You want to win, of course you do. That's why you play sport, because you want to win.
But it's not the be all and end all.
And stuff like that is just as important, isn't it? It should be.
Yeah.
And we've lost that along the way. And
not at all costs, right? I mean, I think there should be a rule change in football. I mentioned about a player going down, 15-stone player tap. I was thinking of De Bruyne, obviously. I don't know whether I said that, but there should be a rule whereby and the professionals go, well, he gave the referee a decision. He tapped his ankle. So the professionals, Shearer, Ferdinand, of course, he's going to go over. The same the other day with, what's his name? The Uruguayan forward in the box last minute. Went down for he basically slowed up. So the defender got level with him. Right? I can't remember his name now. What's his name? Played for Man United up front. Uruguayan. Cavani, that's it. Cavani. He slowed up and then left his leg out, a bit of Perez style. And then basically, you see the defender clip him. He did clip him, but I mean, really, is that what? And you got your Shearer and your Ferdinand going, there you go. You can see he's clipped him. That's clever forward play. it lends itself to what we're talking about. That's cheating. How on earth have we got to the situation where that could be exceptional? You've got professionals sitting in the studio going, oh, right, okay, yeah, he clipped him or De Bruyne. Oh, look, there it is. You can see the clip of the ankle. This is a 15-stone footballer, Kevin De Bruyne, 6'2". Someone's touched his ankle. He spun round, threw himself on the floor, and they're saying, oh, but it's a penalty. How have we got to that situation, Richard? You know what I mean? It's why, it's unsportsman-like behaviour, but no one ever mentions it. They say, well, it's professional. What do you expect? Don't be naive. Well, it's cheating. You can't tell me that is not cheating. Kevin De Bruyne would not go down if his ankle was tapped like that. Not in a million years.
It's like what you mentioned a while ago when you spoke about it trying to be perfect, right? And I think with VAR, what VAR are trying to do is make it perfect. Every decision is absolutely, if there's a slightest bit of contact or there's a slightest little bit offside, we're going to get that decision exactly right. Whereas that isn't actually in the spirit of the game, is it? That isn't in the spirit of sport really at all. Yes, it is interpretation. Of course it is. A lot of it is. I know offside probably isn't. It's either offside or onside, but a lot of those penalties and stuff like that. But it's like they are trying to make it too perfect, as though we can't have any mistakes by anybody. And that's not humans for a start off, because humans make mistakes all the time. That's the nature of humans, and that's the nature of sport. If there isn't mistakes going on right, left, and centre, to me, that's not real life. That's not sport. That's FIFA. That's a game of FIFA on a computer game. It's not real life. You want to see mistakes. You want to see referees get things wrong. You want to see players get things wrong. That's what you want to see. What you don't want to see is players cheating and getting away with it.
No, and it is that there is too much. I think that is, for me, that's the worst thing about the game now, where you get that tap or that slight touch and they go down. This is like a guy who spends like 7 hours in the gym. He's got muscles on muscles, and you could not push. 5 people couldn't push him over, right? He goes down, and I just think, is that what we want? Is that what football's about? Again, maybe I've got my big rose-tinted specs on, but I don't remember the era before we started going, early 80s, where people threw themselves to the floor. Not ever. If they did, the whole crowd would be burning them, even probably their own supporters. Right? Crazy.
You're right, and there has been a massive change in recent years, and I agree that it does need to. They need to find some way of stopping that, because the more that players realise that they're not going to get away with it, they'll stop doing it, because there's no point. There's no point at the minute. Of course, they're going to go down because they know they're probably going to get a penalty. They know if they felt a little touch, they know VAR will give it. They know VAR will give it, so they'll just go down, and that's what'll happen.
That said, I'll take the Jesus one against Liverpool, though, right? When he got that slight touch, he went down like a sniper, didn't he?
He did. I mean, I suppose you can't have it all ways, I suppose.
No.
But we don't tend to mind them so much. But then we don't get as many of them anyway. We tend not to do it. We don't have really too many players, but
not I remember. That's why that is one, and the Pires one sticks out in my head. I can't remember. Again, I'm not going to be accused of being biased. I can't remember too much more. Always seems to go against us, especially the last few years of the Wenger era, when the wheels were coming off. Everything's the beatings we had, Chelsea and Liverpool, and every sort of single thing used to go against us. But hopefully them days are behind us now. So we're on the up.
Let's hope so. It's been a long time in coming, hasn't it? So I'm still a little bit sceptical about it, or if I'm honest. But
same. We're scarred, Richard. That's what it is. We're too scarred.
Probably are.
False dawn, as my mate calls it, another false dawn.
I mean, what sometimes what kind of sometimes annoys me a little bit is, especially I've noticed it a lot this season in particular, because we're doing well, we're top of the league. All these people on Twitter trying to be overly positive, saying, "Oh yeah, well we're going to win the league, or we're going to do this and that." But I would rather say, no, we're not. We're going to do nothing this season. If we do, how much more of a bonus it will be? You know what I mean? I would rather assume that we're not. And in fact, it's not even that. I don't believe we're going to win anything this season. I don't believe we're going to win the league. I'm struggling to believe we're going to finish in the top 4, actually. Because the squad's not deep enough, and I keep thinking that we're just, we're coming into at some point a run of 3 or 4 defeats in a row. I can see this team doing that, with the injuries and stuff that we might have, right? And that's what keeps
Yeah.
going through my head. And every week we win.
Yeah.
Before the break started, you know, we were playing Liverpool. We're probably going to lose to Liverpool. Then we'd win. Okay, that was a bit of a bonus. And then we'll probably lose away at Leeds. Oh, we won that game. That was a bonus. We'll probably lose against all these other teams, Wolves away.
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You keep thinking we're going to lose. I do. And we keep winning. But at some point, I can see this team losing 3 or 4 games in a row. And then suddenly we're hanging into 4th place. And then we're going to be struggling after that to maintain that.
Do you know why that?
That's my realism in my mind.
Yeah, same.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't want to assume I'm going to be wrong. I don't want to assume that now because not much has convinced me that I won't be wrong at this moment.
I'll take top 4 right now. I would, just to make sure we keep our players, you know, top players. That'll guarantee that, wouldn't it? You know, Saka's, Martinelli, champions. That's what we need.
What you got to think of is that we've been through a rebuilding process, I suppose you want to call it. It's what it is. Isn't it? We've been rebuilding now for quite a long time, it seems, and we've got to a point now where we've got a pretty decent first 11, I think, and maybe a first 13 or 14 actually.
Yeah, no more than that.
And no more than that, So what we need to do now is we need to get in the top 4 this season so that we can have the money from the Champions League to be able to build on this squad that we've got. Keep the important players, as you said, give them better contracts and add 3 or 4 top players to the group that we've got. And in next season, we'll be in a position where we can maybe challenge for the title all the way through the season. And
I agree.
So this season on top 4 is so important. And I don't really care. We're not going to win the league. Man City are miles better than us. Their squad depth is mental. You know, they might lose a few games more, but they'll win more games than they will.
Of course they will, We are a bit too flimsy outside the top of our first 11 players. There's no anyone who says we're being negative, I just think, well, you're not being realistic. If you want to, maybe it's because we were used to being, we knew what confidence was about when we had the 2014, right? That was confidence game. You were like, we ain't losing, we don't care, right? I mean, nothing. We were so confident. So I suppose you're comparing that against what we got now, which is brilliant. Great crop of young players, but we're susceptible. We were susceptible to a couple of injuries, and maybe when we go on 1 defeat, are we going to go on 2 or 3? I know we've been good, but we, Brentford away, Palace away. So people will say, "Oh, we passed the test," but very different start of the season than it is as we get. We'll find out where we are the next 12 weeks. To the end of March, won't we? We'll find out for sure.
I mean, at the end of the day, right? We've played 14 games in the Premier League, right? We've won 12, right? Which is brilliant. But we've still got 24 games to play, which is a lot of games. We've got Man City to play twice. We've got Liverpool away, Tottenham away. We've got Man United at home. We've got Everton away where we always lose. We've got all these traditional difficult games. We've got Chelsea at home, who again, another team that we don't often get good results against. So I don't know. We've got all the big tests still to come for me. And at this moment in time, it's hard to judge where we are. We're top of the league after 14 games, which is brilliant. But it is only 14 games. It's like a third of a season, isn't it? A long way to go. And I'd rather keep my feet on the ground. I'd rather be considered negative rather than getting carried away. I'm enjoying the fact we're top of the league. It's brilliant. But
it is brilliant,
I've got
above Spurs. Above Spurs, 4th place. Happy to take it right now.
Yeah,
them 5th, because if we're in the top 4, I can't. I don't think they're up to much. And looking at what I've seen so far, it's just whether Liverpool and Chelsea, one of those two, can get back in the top 4, along with. Man United look pretty strong to me, and then obviously you got City. So with a bit of luck, Spurs will finish 5th. We'll finish 4th. Happy days.
And I don't see a lot of difference between us finishing 4th or finishing 2nd. There's no difference really. The prize is the same. You're in the Champions League. I think you have to go for a qualifier if you come 4th, don't you? But it's usually against some team from Azerbaijan or somewhere like that. So it shouldn't necessarily be a problem. So I don't think there's a lot of difference between finishing 2nd and finishing 4th. You're still not winning the league. So what difference does it make? Let's just get in that top 4. That's the only thing that matters.
Exactly. No, exactly. 3rd would be nice. I'll be delighted with 3rd straight in, no messing about.
That would be great
because we've kind of missed it, haven't we? We have, took it for granted for 20 odd years. and then suddenly it's not there. And
Well, it's
like,
funny, isn't it? I mean, I remember the first year that we dropped out, a lot of people said, "Oh, well, 1 year out of the Champions League will probably do us good." And 6 years later, and we still want to get back in again.
I know. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, exactly.
I could see what they were saying, but
yeah,
then you
no, I
realise
did at the time, but it never normally works
yeah.
like that, is it? It's not. It's never just
No.
one season, is it? But then
No.
Liverpool had 1 season out, Man United had 1 season out, Chelsea had 1 season out, and they were straight back in it. We had 1 season out, and we've got 5 seasons out.
I know.
But anyway,
not good.
No, but I mean, we can't do anything about the season. We just have to wait and see what happens. You know, there's a long way to go still, very long way to go. But let's just take it one game at a time. That's what I'm doing. Enjoy each game. If we win, we win.
Exactly.
If we lose, we lose. And I just wouldn't be surprised if we go on a run similar to what we did towards the end of last season when we were losing games. I don't think, unless we strengthen in January, I can see us being in a very similar position again. And we've got the points on the board this time, though, so we've got a little bit in hand, haven't we? So if we do lose,
got a bit of leeway. Yeah,
we've got a bit of leeway. We didn't have that last week.
No, we played a lot of the top teams, but I'm just looking forward to West Ham on Boxing Day. A few beers in the evening. That'll be nice to get out. I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, Newcastle, I think they're 4th in it. Looking forward to that as well at home. Get some points on the board, and then it's like Spurs will be coming thick and fast, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of big games coming up when we got Man City, haven't we, in February? I think it is now. They've rearranged that. A lot. We've got a lot of tough games to come on the Europa League as well. But before that, England might still win the World Cup. You know, who knows?
I know. But it would be brilliant, wouldn't it? It'd be unbelievable. It would be. It'd be incredible. But when I went to bed last night, I was thinking, I wonder what would it be like we actually win the World Cup? And you start thinking, and then you have a word with yourself. And you go, what are you doing? Have you learned nothing? Stop it! Stop it! You start thinking, if we beat France and then Portugal, and then final against Brazil, imagine that. And do you know what the first thing I thought of, Richard? The first thing I thought of with a final against Brazil was one word: Subutio. Right, because when I had my Subutio when I was a kid, it was always England versus Brazil in the final. You know what I mean? And my dad coming home from work and saying, "Right, get that table off that dining room table." There'd be like 4 kids in there, balls everywhere, like stands, floodlights. I'll be shouting and screaming.
I mean, Brazil's the dream, isn't it? I suppose, really, isn't it?
That's the dream, isn't it?
That is the dream.
Yeah,
but,
we can dream.
Yeah, at the moment we still can. Certainly until Saturday when we play France. Who knows? But I think if we get through France, I think we could reach the final.
Yeah, because it'd be probably Portugal, is it? Maybe in the semi. We're due to play.
Yeah,
but it'd be amazing, wouldn't it? I mean, imagine that England versus Brazil World Cup final. Oh my God!
That's the game though. You want it to be in July, don't you? In the summer.
Oh,
so you can be out in a beer garden watching it rather than stuck in a freezing cold. You know what I mean? But
exactly.
It would be incredible. It would be incredible.
Yeah.
And obviously we came close in the last World Cup. We didn't really take that by the scruff of the neck, do we? That tournament, and that's why the 1990 semi-final against Germany is the one, because we actually went for it in that game. We showed no fear. We actually went and tried to win. Against Croatia. We scored, and then we just went into ourselves and sat back. We showed no bravery whatsoever, and that's what
exactly.
Game.
Massive difference.
That's why the Germany one still stands out for me as the best. But maybe this one might be different. Who knows? We'll have to wait.
Might be different. Yeah, got to roll the dice, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. If we can be a little bit braver, I think in those big games, I think we'll have a chance. It'd be interesting to see how we approach the France game actually, because Southgate to me will go into it with fear, because that's what he's done every single time we've played a half decent team.
I hope not. I think we'll lose if he does that. I think we've got to be on. I think just play the same team and just go for it. Obviously, I think you got Kyle Walker. That's probably as fast as Mbappe, and probably I'd have Rice, kind of maybe on that side, doubling up on him and just stopping what's his name, Griezmann. Stop him getting on the ball. Stop. It sounds straightforward, but if you cut out the service, we can do it. I mean, there's a lot of players out. What's his name? Benzema. He's not playing. They've got a few players out in midfield, so I think about 4 regulars are not playing. So we've got a chance. We have definitely got a chance. Just keep
we've got a chance. We've definitely got a chance. And let's see if we get through that game. Then there's not many better teams left in it than France. Let's be honest. So
no, there ain't.
It's only really Brazil, and that's it. And I think Brazil will beat them as well. I do. I think Brazil will beat them.
Definitely.
But
100%.
Let's not get too excited because it will come crashing back down as it has done,
like it always does.
Times before. Yeah, you see, we're far too experienced at watching England in World Cups to get too excited.
No, we are, mate. No, we are definitely.
We've seen too many. We've seen too many failures to expect anything else really. So I kind of expect us to lose probably on penalties to France. That's what I'm expecting.
Pens.
So anything other than that, anything better than that would be a massive bonus, and then we'll take it from there and see what happens.
Fingers crossed.
At least we've got something to look forward to. There's no Premier League football at the minute, but at least we've got a big World Cup game on Saturday to look forward to. So that's
of course we have. Yeah, can't wait.
So that was then. Well, I know we've got sidetracked a little bit, but that was the 1990 World Cup, Italia 90. England.
That's the trouble of having two Arsenal fans talking about. Football. It's always the danger, isn't it? We're going to drift.
Yeah, we could do all night. But yeah, I mean, I say England did well. We won the Fair Play Award. We come fourth in the end. Italy beat us in the playoffs. Scalacci scored again to get the Golden Boot. But we did win the Fair Play Award. We got fourth place, which was okay, wasn't it? Pretty good. The best we had done at the time since '66. So that was good. Gaza became a national hero. He had a top 40 hit single afterwards and everything else, and he probably became the most.
Graham Taylor took over, and it all went pear-shaped.
It did, and then Gaza snaps his knee in half, playing at Wembley in a cup final the year after, and that was the end of him pretty much, and that was that. And the glory days for England lasted very briefly.
2 years before you knew it, Jeff Thomas and Carlton Palmer were playing for England.
Yeah, exactly, and that was it was all over, as I said. We thought it was all over, and it was all over. But it was fun. It was fun while it lasted, and certainly that 1990 World Cup was fun while it lasted. Certainly towards the end, the knockout games. The group stage was a bit dull, but the knockout stage, Belgium, brilliant. Last minute game. Cameroon was just a brilliant game of football, and then the Germany game
as well.
The one of the greatest games I've seen England play ever. So a very good World Cup in the end for England, but overall a cynical World Cup. And the start of, as we said, the final World Cup of the old era, if you like, before modern football started kicking in and taking over. And by the time the next World Cup in '94 in America, that kind of summed it up really. Having a World Cup in America in the first place kind of showed where football was going. And that whole World Cup and, Sky in between, obviously taking over the Premier League and all that kind of stuff. So by the time the next World Cup come round, things had changed quite quickly already, hadn't they? Unfortunately. And that was the start of what I consider to be a slippery slope for football. Although I'm sure plenty of other people think it's improved and it's better.
Well, they don't know any different, I suppose, do they? In their defence, that's the only thing you can say, isn't it?
I guess so.
They'll never see Arsenal playing in a green kit with a bit of blue on the arms, will they, Richard? Lee Chapman.
Got that kit and I love it. I've still got it.
I see it. Yeah.
I've still got it. I love it. It's brilliant, and I will always love it forever because I think it's fantastic. No, I mean exactly. Now though, Arsenal just have 50 million tracksuit tops coming out every season, don't they? Now, and new kits every season, and I don't know.
The training kit made me laugh. Now they're doing that, and the training kit. Make a bit of a few quid.
They have a new one every week, don't they? There's a new release of something every week, isn't there? It's ridiculous. Which is a shame because it means that you don't get that uniqueness anymore. Now that green and blue kit, we only had that for one season as it turned out because there were so many people didn't like it, so we went back to yellow again. But
weird, wasn't it?
Unique, wasn't it? It
was.
It's something unique, and you're not going to get it anymore because there's so much stuff about it. No matter what you get, there's 500 of different things, so it's like it's not the same. Whereas I don't know, we've lost that.
It is. I mean, it's weird that I see that green kit, and I think three things: Lee Chapman, Petrovic, right, and losing against Man United in that semi-final of the FA Cup, and Brian Robson at Villa Park. That's my three memories for the green kit. Yeah,
when Remy Moses took Stuart Robson out of that game when he was bossing it. That game, that semi-final in '83.
That's right. Yeah,
we were winning 1 half time, and then Stuart Robson never came out for the second half. Guess who had to come on as a sub? Do you remember he came on at half time as a sub because Stuart Robson got injured?
Right, let me have a think. Was it someone like? Was it a midfielder? Did we have a midfielder?
No,
or was it a defender? Wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
Right. All right. Okay. So it must have been a striker that weren't on the pitch. Lee Chapman.
It was Lee Chapman. Yeah, it was Lee Chapman. I'll never forget. It was at Villa Park on the Holt end, right? And obviously, first half we played well. We're 1-0 up. Obviously, we knew Robson was struggling because he just got whacked on the touchline before half time. Yeah. And in the second half, they announced, and the Arsenal substitute Lee Chapman. We thought, that's it, we've lost.
Yeah,
and we lost. But yeah, that was.
Yeah, but at least we had the quarterfinal, the Petrovic quarterfinal. Highbury, didn't we? Against Villa.
Yeah.
That game was absolute. I remember it was so packed. I was on that little shed corner in the North Bank they used to have between, just the what was it? It kind of adjacent to the East Stand. There was almost like a little shed with a lot of roof you could get on. I clambered up on top of that because it was so packed. Obviously, no one threw you off. They probably said get down about 5 times, but we just ignored it and went up there. But that was a big old crowd that day. I remember that. I think that was on the. I watched that recently. Funny enough, on the.
Yeah, I saw that recently as well. Yeah, I was on the clock in that day. I remember the atmosphere was just incredible, and you couldn't really see a lot because we scored both the goals at the clock in the clock in goal in the first half.
Yeah, we did.
I was on the clock in. I was about 15 or 14, I think I was at the time.
Yeah, same.
So I wasn't very big, and I couldn't see the goal. You just see the ball come across, and then suddenly everyone's gone mad. So it's gone in, and everyone just went mad. It was just brilliant. And then obviously, I've seen the goals since, but I didn't see the goals at the time because I couldn't see them.
No.
But it didn't matter, did it? You was just sucked in by that. It didn't matter, did it? But that was a great day. That was a great day, wasn't it?
Yeah. I thought we were going all the way. Never mind.
Yeah, I did as well. See how different he might be. He won the FA Cup that season. Terry Neal would have kept his job the season after when he got sacked. And who knows where the club might have gone after that. Yeah, these little moments are quite important for history. That we might never have got Jules Graham because we might have been in a totally different place having won the FA Cup that year. Would have been in Europe because there was no ban in Europe at that time. We'd have gone in a Cup. We might have won that. Who knows?
Yeah, as I say, it's sliding doors moments. That instead we got done out.
Yeah, but then getting done out led us to getting James Graham, so that's fine.
Yeah, great coach. He was a coach. He was never a manager, not in a million years. So Don now probably knew he was a proper coach, wasn't he? He was a blue ribbon coach. He definitely weren't a manager.
No.
So we had a rough old period after that. I think I was chatting to someone the other day. We had the old. The lost, was it Oxford in the Milk Cup? We lost. A few dodgy results, didn't we? Swindon, I think I said to someone. So no, they said that was 79. We lost to Swindon.
79. Yeah, we lost to Middlesbrough in the FA Cup one year when they were in the second division. We lost to York in the FA Cup when they were in the third division in the snow.
Yeah, Charlie Nicholas.
Yeah,
away went it in the snow.
Yeah, and Steve Williams gave away a penalty in the last minute, one of his first games. I remember I was excited when we signed Steve Williams. I thought, Steve Williams is a good player. He was a good player for Southampton. And he turned out to be a really good player for Arsenal. But
he was a good player.
I think that was his second or third game, that game against York in the FA Cup. And obviously it was a horrible pitch. It was frozen. It shouldn't have even gone ahead that game. The ball was bouncing and bobbling all over the place. We never settled at all. And in the last minute, he committed a stupid foul in the area, gave away a penalty. 1-0 to York, and I remember thinking, Steve Williams, what a waste of money he was. But he actually turned out to be really good after that.
He was decent, wasn't he?
He was very good.
Do you know who he reminds me of? A little bit of Hillier, similar type of player. That kind of cultured. Derek Hillier, a decent right foot, got stuck in like Steve. Probably not as much as Steve Williams, but no nonsense. Just a good passer.
Yeah. Steve Williams liked to tackle, didn't he? He liked getting stuck in, didn't he?
He did, big time.
Yeah,
he was proper old school, as did old David Hillier.
He did,
as well. I thought he was a decent player, but long time ago, mate. A long time ago, Steve Williams.
He was a long time ago, but yeah. So I remember thinking he was never going to be any good for us after that game, and he turned out to be really, really good. So one of my favourite
good signing.
Brilliant.
Yeah, same.
And then obviously fell out with George Graham like most people did, and that was it. And he was gone.
That was it. Yeah, Charlie Nicholas as well. Champagne Charlie.
Yeah, he had some good moments, but he was frustrating as a player, wasn't he, Charlie?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, he did have a few good moments. Yeah, Liverpool at home. I remember he scored a blinding goal against Liverpool. I think when Niall Quinn scored.
Yes,
it was a December game, wasn't it? In December.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was Niall Quinn's debut, wasn't it? He came in and scored.
Yeah, I think I was in the clock end. I think the keeper fumbled it, and I think he followed up. But Charlie was out on the left hand side, cut in, and done that curler, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
we did. It was still special to beat Liverpool back in them days. When we beat Liverpool.
Massive.
I can't wait. Match of the day. Yes.
Yeah. And then the following week we went to Old Trafford and won 1-0, and Charlie scored in that game as well.
That's right. Yeah. Blimey, we thought, look, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for.
Yeah, it obviously wasn't, but it was good at the time for 2 weeks.
It was good at the time. Yeah, I think we had him being away in the FA Cup, didn't we? One January, a couple of free kicks over the wall. Yeah, and we drove up there.
Sorry, got actual.
Yeah. I think I drove up there. Well, I didn't drive, but
yeah,
I think we. It was like it was horrific. It was snow. I think we broke down.
Yeah. It was horrible weather again, but that was a decent game that we won 4-3, and that was decent. That free kick, I remember that free kick was good.
Over the wall, happy days.
They were happy days indeed. And that was what 86, that wouldn't it? 85, 86, I think.
Start of 86 or start of 85, one of the two.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was 86, the Grimsby game. It was like 86.
I think you're right.
Yeah, because I think 85 was when we lost to York, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're right. No, it was.
And then everyone thought we was going to lose to Grimsby because we'd lost to York the year before. And then we managed to beat Grimsby. But I think we were 4-2 up or something, weren't we? Like we were more comfortable, and then they got a goal right at the end, didn't they, to make it 4-3 in injury time or something. So it wasn't as close as it looked, really.
No,
but it was
exactly.
a decent game, I seem to remember. But they were good days. We never expected to win anything, and that made it better, really, because you didn't really have that pressure to win. It was like, well, you go to away game. If you want to, I remember going to away games like at Grimsby, for example, or somewhere Hartlepool or somewhere up north, and if you won the game, you was actually over the moon. We just won a game away from home. It didn't matter that you wasn't going to win the league or you wasn't going to win anything.
No.
You just enjoyed those moments, and the next week you'd go away to Leicester and lose 3-0 or something, and you think, okay, back to normal again. That's the way it is. And you just accepted it, really, didn't you? Whereas now people seem to overreact to everything, don't they? They either get too excited because we've won, and they get too down when we've lost. It's like, well, I don't know.
Richard, I can't remember. I think I said to you before. I can't remember. I can't imagine there'd have been too many supporters of our generation marching Wenger out. Do you? Probably, maybe one. What someone who got Alzheimer's or something, but forgotten. Right,
exactly.
Well, the rest of us are all standing there thinking, "Are you joking? Are you kidding me? Yeah, it's not going well. We get it. And he's got his shortcomings, and all right, can't pick a goalkeeper or a centre half, and but for what he's done, he can. I don't care." Right, that's why it was so sickening, wasn't it? Just to see the treatment.
It was just
and I think mad.
And actually, and I don't know whether you feel the same, but to me, since all that kind of Wenger out stuff, and since what happened with all that, and obviously since Wenger's gone, and what the club of kind of the transition that we've gone through since then, I don't feel the same about it now. I don't feel the same about the club. I don't feel the same about the fans. I don't feel the same about any of it.
No, I know what you mean. No, the fans definitely. The club's a different model. I think, as you said the other day, that post you did about the ownership. We grew up on Dennis Hillwood, and the old Etonians, and it's like you look at it now and you kind of think, they're doing an all right job now, but it just don't feel like Arsenal, does it? It just it never will. It's not.
No. It's not Arsenal. The fans aren't Arsenal. The club's not Arsenal. None of it is. The ground isn't. None of it. And I know you know we can't go back and all that kind of stuff, and it's what it is now.
No.
But it doesn't mean that we all have to accept it. And for me, it's
just buy into it.
It's almost like if it wasn't so deeply ingrained in me for such a long time, I could walk away. But you can't walk away because that's not an option, is it? But I don't feel
it's not
the
an
same
option.
about it now. I don't feel the same about it now.
No. I mean, the new stadium. We've definitely had a better atmosphere. This season's been unbelievable. The atmosphere's definitely come back, but you're never going to beat that Highbury 38,000. The enclosed small pitch. The old pitch have done that.
The whole thing's not the same. It's almost like I don't know. It's like anything in life, isn't it? You're attached to something in your life, and then it changes, and it's not the same.
Loses meaning. No
matter what you feel about it, and it's the same with Arsenal. Arsenal isn't the same now as it was, and maybe these people that only really started supporting Arsenal in the last 20 years, 15 years, don't get it. They don't feel like that because they didn't know what it was like before. I fell in love with Highbury, going to Highbury for the first time. I fell in love with that. I fell in love with what the club stood for, the marble halls, Hill Wood, as you said, all that kind of stuff. That Arsenal were class above everybody else. We did things differently. And that's why I loved Arsenal. That was one of the main reasons why. And now, if I was a young fan now looking at Arsenal, I wouldn't support Arsenal probably because they've got none of that. They've got none of those values anymore.
None of that tradition. Got Yankee owns the club. Completely different setup. Well, we had the Irish setup, didn't we? I guess, Irish players, Irish managers.
The whole thing now. The whole thing now. If I was 9 or 10 years old now, I'm not sure if I would support Arsenal.
I know what you mean. You probably end up supporting Chelsea, wouldn't you? If you was in the last 10 years, if you were a kid of a certain age, 9 to 10.
I don't know, because I'm not sure if I would, because I don't think I've always even before I understood it totally, I always loved the history of Arsenal. The ground, it just looks historic. And the fact that I knew Arsenal had a history of winning things in the 30s and stuff, and I knew about all of that, and I didn't understand it so much. But that was one of the things about Arsenal. It's always been. If anything, nowadays, I don't know. There's no. I know football's different now. So you'd have grown up differently. You'd have grown up with different values and stuff like that. So maybe it'd be different. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I suppose for me, obviously I'm from Highbury. You know what I mean? So even when I was really young, I could hear the fans, and my granddad so he used to go over there in the 1930s, watch David Jack and these kind of players, and even back in the late 70s, me thinking, God, the 1930s, and it was 50 years before when he was, when he was 20, he watched these players, Jack Kelsey's at David Jack, and he went up. We had our biggest ever crowd, wasn't it, against Sunderland, wasn't it, 70-odd thousand, and he was at that. He was telling me about that game. He's been dead 20-odd years, so that's what sticks in your head, and that's why it means so much to me. You know what I mean? It's just that old-fashioned value, the Arsenal, as I like to tell Chelsea fans and Spurs fans, we get called the Arsenal for a reason.
No, you're right, and all of those things are what always made Arsenal great. And all the stuff on the pitch that we saw later on was just the icing on the cake. That wasn't the cake. That was the icing. No. The cake was the icing on the cake. Whereas now,
the cake was the club. The cake was the club.
It's like fans now seem as though they're only interested in the trophies. They're only interested in winning things. They're only interested in all that kind of stuff. And
bragging rights.
And to me, it's like, even this World Cup, it's done me head in, people saying, well, our player started ahead of a Tottenham player or a Tottenham player. I'm like, who cares? It's the World Cup.
Who cares?
I've not watched one Brazil game in this World Cup, even though we've got players, because I'm not that interested. You see, Arsenal, it's England I want to see in the World Cup. I don't want to see Brazil. I'm not bothered unless we're playing them.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And I don't care I don't care if our players are playing well for Brazil. What I care about is what they do when they play for Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I was excited last night when Saka scored for England. I enjoyed that. That was brilliant. And he scored the other game as well. It was great because he's a young guy that's come through our academy system. And we've seen him play for you. We've seen him grow up. And now we've seen him play at a World Cup. And that's slightly different, I think. But the rest of them, I don't care if Martinelli plays for Brazil or not. I don't care if he plays well or he plays shit. I'm not bothered. What I care about is what he does on Boxing Day.
What he does for an Arsenal shirt. Yeah, it's completely different, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. And if Tottenham fans say, Richarlison's playing for Brazil ahead of Jesus, I don't care.
It's laughable.
I don't care.
Bothered.
It's not important, is it? All that matters is England doing well at the World Cup, and then the World Cup finishing, and Arsenal winning the games again, and all them players playing well for Arsenal.
West Ham. That's all that matters is West Ham.
Yeah, exactly, and that's all I care about. And obviously, I want to see Saka do well because he's playing for England, and I want to see England do well. So that's it.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway,
right, mate. I better get some dinner, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
Half 9.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Lee, as always. We
Pleasure. Yeah, lovely.
What we need to do is we need to do a show about Arsenal. Actually, is what we need to do.
Definitely from that era. Maybe do that era.
I mean,
I don't know.
there is a show on the channel that Melvin does. It's on tomorrow, actually. It's called Highbury Matters, and he's now getting into the late 70s, early 80s. He does a different one every couple of weeks, and he does a couple of years at a time. Now, I think you'd be really good to go on there one week, actually. In one of the 80s seasons.
Yeah, definitely.
You've got. I mean, I'm doing the show with him when we do sort of 80. I think 82 to 83 kind of era.
Yeah.
So, but I think you'd be brilliant to go on there.
Yeah.
That show is very similar to the kind of thing that we do here, just looking at 2 seasons for Arsenal, the memories at Highbury, all that kind of stuff. It's brilliant. And, you'd be brilliant on that show. I think you'd enjoy that.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I've got I'm the same age as you, so I've got a lot of things going in the head from that era, week in, week out, going just me and my mates, just taking the mickey out of some of the Arsenal players. Chris White, turn on sixpence. Little things like that come into your head. God, turn on a sixpence, Chris White. Remember the experiment, playing him up front.
He scored a goal, didn't he? Was it Aston Villa he scored against, wasn't it? It was
Aston
like, wow,
Villa,
that was unbelievable.
Wow, that died a death, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, lasted about 2 games.
I'd like to. Yeah. Let us know about that. I can't do it. I'm in London. I'm up for Islington tomorrow. But yeah, I'll definitely be keen. That sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, what it is a different sort of 2 year. He has like one guest on. It's a different 2 years every week. So what I'll do is I'll speak to him, see what years he's needing someone for, and I mean, and I'll let you know, because it's a really good show, actually.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'd smash that. I'd love that. I'd be
great
to get involved in that.
You would be brilliant on that. Yeah, I'll have a word with Melvin and see. I'll say, look,
Rich,
great to get him on, but we'll sort that out anyway. It'd be great. Colonel says, great show. Cheers, mate. Thank you for tuning in again.
Cheers, mate.
Don't forget tomorrow. I'll say Highbury Matters tomorrow. Melvin. He's got the author John Sperling. Have you heard of John Sperling? He's written a few Arsenal books. Arsenal in the 80s. He wrote Arsenal in the 90s.
All right, I'll write down John Sperling.
John Sperling, he's got some. I've got 3 or 4 of his books, and they're brilliant Arsenal books. And he's coming on tomorrow to do that Highbury Matters show, so that'll be good. Yeah, I think it's 78 to 80s tomorrow. I think that's the era.
Yeah.
So when I first sort of started watching Arsenal, really, so that's going to be good. And I know he's going to be a great guest. That's tomorrow, so definitely try and catch that if you can, because that'll be good.
All right, lovely. Right, Rich.
So well, thanks for coming on, Lee. It's always a pleasure.
That's a pleasure. Pleasure.
We'll have to get you on more often, because it's great having you on, because I think me and you have got a lot in common. We've got a lot of good memories together, and we kind of got similar feelings about it all. So
very similar. We
need to get you on more.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I've got a few mates of mine. A guy I know called Fred, even 10 years older than me. He was. So he'd be really good to have him if I could persuade him, because he's a real character, Rich. I mean, a real character.
Is he?
Massive, massive character. He's and he's 10 years older than me, 64, and so he went from the late 60s, the early 70s. So you Peter Simpsons, Radford, Charlie George, and all the rest of it, and the Terry Mancini. So I kind of grew up going to games when I was older. So I used to play. So I played at a decent level, and he was involved with my football team. So he used to tell us about the 70s and what went on, and so that was interesting, because that was 10 years we kind of missed out on. Say 69 to 79, 78. But it'd be good. I'll talk to him, Fred. He's got definitely got good old memories to tap into.
That sounds good. Actually. I mean, to be honest with you, one of the reasons why I started this channel up, I know you get kind of sidetracked with everything that's going on now, the modern game and stuff like that, but one of the reasons why I wanted to start the channel was for Arsenal's history and memories and all that kind of stuff, because that's so important. And it's always overlooked. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start the channel up. But at the beginning, I used to do a lot of stuff on the sort of history of the club and that, and it kind of got sidetracked because there's games right, left and centre, and you get kind of wrapped up in what's happening now. Which is great as well, but I don't want to lose track of the fact that the main reason why was to look at the history of the club and how we got there and where we've come from, because I just think that's so important. And younger fans need to know that, don't they, as well? Yeah,
exactly. Rather than just this big new shiny stadium that we've had for a few years.
And listening to the rubbish on Sky about Sky's perception of football is totally different to the reality of what where Arsenal are from, and what we've come from. and that's
Totally,
so important to me. And I just want to,
yeah,
I don't want to lose track of that. And that's why, you know, Melvin does that show, which is really good. You know, I want to do these World Cup shows. I want to start doing more stuff on Arsenal history and past and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have to definitely get you involved in all that kind of stuff. And
Defo, mate. All right, I better go. I better let the cat out. The cat's been locked in the room for about 2 hours, itching to get out.
Yeah, better
let her out.
Brilliant. Well, it's been great to chat you again anyway.
Yeah, lovely.
And,
and you, Rich. Really enjoyed it.
Soon,
Cheers, buddy. Thank you, mate. Cheers.
No problem at all. Speak to you later, mate. Take it easy. So that was Lee then, of course. Brilliant guest as always. We looked at the 1990 World Cup. We got a little bit sidetracked with a few other bits and bobs as well, but it was good fun. A little bit of Arsenal history as well, which of course we all enjoy on this channel. So coming up tomorrow, Melvin is here with John Sperling. That is going to be, you don't want to miss that show. It's going to be brilliant. 78 to 1980, they'll be looking at Highbury Matters. Brilliant show that is. So join them for that. Wednesday, the Arsenal Women in Champions League gets Juventus. It's at the Emirates, that game. We're doing a watch along, so I'll be live at 7:45 for that one on Wednesday. So please join me for that. Thursday, it is the Arsenal Social Extra with Adam and Steve. Again, that's a really, really good show, entertaining stuff. So join the guys on Thursday. That's at 8 o'clock. Friday, I'm back 7:30. The Arsenal Women's Weekly, looking back on the win against Everton, looking back on the Juventus game, looking ahead to Villa. That's on Friday. And of course, Saturday evening at 7:15, we are back for England against France World Cup quarter-final. That is going to be something special, isn't it? So loads and loads of great stuff on the channel to come this week. So please give us a like. And please subscribe to the channel and check out these shows that we've got this week. It's going to be a big week on the channel. It's a big week for English football. It's a big week for the Arsenal women as well. Champions League on Wednesday. So join us all for that. We will see you very soon. Thanks for watching tonight. This has been World Cup Memories, 1990. What a World Cup that was for England. Great stuff. Let's hope we can go one better this year in the next few weeks. Let's hope so. So thanks for watching. I will see you very, very soon. This is Over and Over and Over Again. We're back tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Highbury Matters. Do not miss it. It's going to be great. In the meantime, as always, come on, you gunners. See you later, guys. Take it easy. Thanks for watching. Real Martinelli. It's now with Granit Xhaka. Is it going to be the third goal? It is the third goal. Granit Xhaka with it. That seals it.